Chapter 81. Because it's going to succeed anyway. The confident declaration resounded from the stream. Hyang's eyes sparkled as she looked at the screen. As expected. She was already satisfied, though nothing had been achieved yet. That confident demeanor and the consistent ability to realize that confidence. This was the biggest pleasure of watching Lee Suyuk's stream. The response is good too. Hyang didn't just enjoy the stream casually. As a manager, she did not forget her role, and she closely monitored the progress of the stream from time to time. How the public opinion in the chat was. How the number of viewers was changing moment by moment. Viewers? 9,372. Over 9,000 viewers had already gathered. At this rate, reaching 10,000 viewers seemed only a matter of time. If the content's sustainability was good, surpassing even 15,000 seemed quite achievable. Now, 10,000 viewers didn't seem that difficult anymore. This meant that more and more viewers were looking for the streamer Lee Suyuk. There's only one thing left now. Crunch. Having recorded the viewer trends, it was time to enjoy the stream while snacking. To complete this challenge perfectly. Much hinged on the success of this challenge. If he failed here, a potential video clip would be lost. The failure of one content meant that the streamer's lifespan would be shortened accordingly. That wasn't all. To be honest, Lee Suyuk is a dangerous streamer. This was the words of John Dale, a seasoned veteran in the field. Why? Because he's too outstanding. Is that a problem? She couldn't understand. Being good was an advantage. Especially for a player, having outstanding skills is the best advantage. And Lee Suyuk was such a gem-like streamer born with that best advantage. But people who have always shown their excellence must continue to do so. Hyang couldn't find any words to refute John Dale's statement. Such types of streamers stream with absolute faith. And their viewers think this way. This streamer never fails. They will show something great today too. Faith. A beautiful, nice word. But the name of a trust that has been broken once is doubt. A single failure. That will be the turning point. That's why John Dale said Lee Suyuk was a dangerous streamer. The moment he fails once, he will lose everything on his stream. Every word was true. From that moment, even if Lee Suyuk succeeded as a player, he would never be able to become a top-tier streamer. He would likely become just one of the many moderate streamers. But there's nothing to worry about. Hyang didn't feel worried at John Dale's words. Instead, she felt even more anticipation building. I know someone who has accomplished what you mentioned. Team leader. Are you talking about real Suyuk? Yes. At Hyang's answer, John Dale had a vague expression. And John Dale asked, could he really become like Lee Suyuk? See for yourself, team leader. This content was for those like John Dale who had such doubts. And for the countless viewers who shared the same thoughts as John Dale. This person will go even higher. Asterisk. Are you really doing it without Skywalk? In response to a chat, Suyuk nodded. Yes. Would you like to see? Then he showed his bare feet which had nothing on them. Look. See nothing. Step by step, he walked slowly towards the scarecrow. Suyuk started the Lee Suyuk challenge. Oh, looks like he's starting. Can you really do it without Skywalk? I can. Unlike before, Suyuk now had the leisure to watch the chat. It was an obvious difference. Suyuk now was in better condition than before, and above all, the opponent wasn't furious but a scarecrow. Crackle. Thunder LV.5 imbues his feet. His steps, which had been gradually speeding up, gained acceleration. The scenery shown on the screen changed in an instant. In the blink of an eye, he reached the front of the scarecrow and continued his commentary. Run forward. Flash. Crackle. With thunder imbued in his feet, he leaped high into the sky. Swoosh. Cleanly, he beheaded the scarecrow. Just like this. Thump. And then smoothly landed back down. And then you come back down. What? The events that unfolded in the blink of an eye filled the chat with question marks. Is this right? Other people are struggling so much with this. Did you do something else? It's correct, but is it really? Suyuk asked the bewildered viewers. Should I show you again? Yes, yes. Re-go-go. Suyuk called another scarecrow. He then said, this time I'll do it a bit slower than before. SSSSSS. He performed the same movements at a slightly slower pace than before. Wow. It's absurd how easily he does it. It's the gear, it's the gear, it's the gear, it's the gear, it's the gear. Is this really possible? Oh. They thought the challenge was about succeeding in one try. In reality, Suyuk demonstrated not just by succeeding on the first try, but mastering the speed to his liking. He proved that he could succeed no matter how many times he tried. How did you do that? At a viewer's question, Suyuk furrowed his brows under the mask. How did I do it? Finding it difficult to explain, Suyuk created another scarecrow. Just like this. Pot dash. This time, without using lightning, he ran quickly and jumped high. Jump. Swipe dash. When he reached the height around the opponent's head, he sliced its neck with a blade. Slash. Top. He landed softly with balance. Balance yourself, and then stand up again. This is serious. I don't understand anything. Aha! I perfectly understand. I don't understand. I said I understood. Ha ha ha. Really? Someone seriously needs to nerf this guy. Simply put, you just have to do it. And it was indeed like that. He wanted to share the method, but there was no way to teach it. I'm not really good at teaching. Unless there was some special tip, there was no way to explain what came naturally to him. Suyuk scratched his head for a moment, then said, anyway, the challenge is complete. Waving his hand lightly, he concluded the stream. That's it for today's stream. See you tomorrow. Wait a moment. Is it really ending like this? Lee Suyuk has ended the stream. The stream ended. As he often did, Suyuk called Unhyang right after the stream ended. Late evening. Unhyang stepped outside the dorm and answered Suyuk's call. Wasn't that too abrupt? You did well. The video angles were good. And the team leader mentioned not dragging out content for too long. It served as a feedback session of sorts. They would discuss whether the stream went well, if there were any issues, or if anything needed improvement. It's a bit disappointing that I couldn't answer properly earlier. No, it's better this way. Better, huh? I'm not just saying it. It looks more genius-like if even you don't know how you do it. Doesn't it? Suyuk readily agreed with Unhyang's words. You're right. Suyuk had vaguely sensed it too. Seeing him avoid detailed answers fit the image the viewers have of Lee Suyuk. Although he thought explaining a bit more would seem friendlier. I've told you many times, Suyuk, just keep being yourself. No need to put on any act. No. Unhyang spoke with utmost certainty. That's how it must be. Is that so? Reassured by Unhyang's words, Suyuk felt confident again. Yes, I'll be back a bit late because of a promise. Rest well. Click dash. With those words, Unhyang ended the call. It was the first time she had ever ended a call with Suyuk first. Something she didn't realize at the moment. She slowly walked into the alley. She met the person she had promised to see. You came fast. With one hand in his pocket and the other fiddling with a kit as usual, Cheon Riang stood there. Why are you so late? Work. Sorry. Sorry, huh? You must really feel sorry if you're buying food first. Unhyang couldn't say anything to Cheon Riang's remark. She had no right to. No matter how thick-skinned she was, she had sent Cheon Riang to take care of something on her behalf, so she had no excuses. Pick whatever you want to eat. And drinks too. I'll choose something really expensive. Sure. Choose something expensive. Your Nuna's rich. Unhyang responded playfully. She knew that Cheon Riang's words were meant to ease her guilt. Their banter lasted only a short while. Suddenly, Cheon Riang's expression hardened, and he spoke in a changed tone. We might not be able to stay here much longer. Cheon Riang had spent a lot of time contemplating before bringing this up. And eventually, he said it. That damned old man found out everything. Where you are and what you're doing. Ninth floor. A world that only a very select few players, who possess chosen talents and exceptional effort, can reach. If reaching the 8th floor earns a player the title of ranker, those who make it to the 9th floor are so rare that they are called high rankers. In the heart of the busiest city in that world, the Blue Zone Executive House was located. So, it's a rejection again. A man with short, spiky hair and a tattoo on one arm mumbled while resting his chin on his hand. In front of him was a nameplate. Vice Guild Leader of Blue Zone, Lee 1J. Just to be sure, he looked at the screen in front of him once again. I promised treatment equivalent to a semi-ranker. This message came not from me, but from the higher-ups of the guild. Paul Ryman. He was a lower-floor player belonging to Blue Zone. Though he was quite a low-ranking member, he had two important missions. The first was to serve as a catalyst for Omar Schneider to conquer the Thunder Cave. The second was to bring the streamer Lee Soo-yuk into Blue Zone. However, there's no way there isn't. I'm rejecting that offer. He had defiantly rejected the proposal. And he did so during a stream. So, it was only natural that news articles spread. Streamer Lee Soo-yuk rejects Blue Zone's recruitment offer. What's next for Lee Soo-yuk? Will he continue as a streamer? New Lightning Lord. The missed connection with Blue Zone. Lee Soo-yuk. Blue Zone. It was a combination that would naturally draw high viewership. Rejecting the guild's recruitment offer during a stream was as good as drawing a clear line, stating he would never team up with them. Talking won't do. The investment named Schneider to tackle the Thunder Cave had failed. After a moment of contemplation, Lee 1J dialed a number on his kit. The recipient was Kim Il-soo, the master ruling over the vast world known as Blue Zone. And when he answered, "Yes, Guild Master," Lee 1J spoke immediately about the matter. "It seems we need to resort to more aggressive methods. Tails Corner. Kim Il-soo is a bitch. It has become a habit to me to call any character I don't like a bitch." Chapter 82. The next day. Early in the morning, Soo-yuk left the dorm to challenge the next trial. The place where Soo-yuk started his stream was on the 4th floor testing grounds, in front of the white portal. As he turned on the stream and waited for a moment, viewers started to flood in.
Suhai. Suhai.
Did he just go live? The waiting time was 5 minutes. After about that much time had passed, the viewer count exceeded 7,000. And then, the stream began in earnest.
Suhai.
Hello, everyone. With these words, the stream began. Suhai. You're early today. Quite a number of viewers had tuned in early in the morning. By now, even Soo-yuk had gotten used to responding to the viewers' chat messages. A lovely Soo-yuk has donated 1,000 points.
Suhai.
Are you going to the 5th floor starting today? Great man Lee 1J has donated 100 points. Heck, brother. Please greet us once. As the number of viewers increased, the frequency and amount of donations pouring in alongside the stream also grew. Thank you, a lovely Soo-yuk, for the 1,000-point donation. Yes, I'm climbing up again from today. Great man Lee 1J. The time spent reading and replying to donation messages lasted for a bit. Among them, Mission Villain has donated 100 points. What crazy stunt are you pulling this time? A question perfectly suited for the stream had come in. What stunt, lol? He did pull off some crazy stunts, lol. The objective for this trial. When asked about it, the viewers responded with great enthusiasm. Simple, but this was the identity of the streamer Lee Soo-yuk. Having passed the trial of Thunder and conquered the Thunder Cave, Soo-yuk had been completing trials by doing things that others could not. It seemed that viewers most anticipated this kind of feat from his stream. However, well, this place is somewhat boring. Unlike other trials, the 4th floor's trial made it difficult to attempt something special. There's nothing to do but to get through it as quickly as possible. This place is a bit boring. True, sad but true. Why? I found it interesting. But if this guy participates, doesn't he break the ecosystem? LOL. There were many disappointed reactions. Soo-yuk also wanted to meet their expectations, but there wasn't much he could do. Even if other floors were different, the trial on the fourth floor was particularly restrictive for players attempting to do something unique. Both Hyang and John Dale regretted that Suyuk had to take on the fourth floor's trial during a key growth period for his stream. For in a sense, this trial was excellent content, yet its nature was completely different from what Suyuk typically offered. Steps could be heard approaching, stepping forward. As he entered the portal, a message resonated. You have consumed 3,000 points. Starting the fourth floor trial, around him was still a white landscape. The trial hadn't begun yet. Messages continued to appear. You have been assigned a Bronze 3 rank. All abilities are adjusted to 50% according to the Bronze rank. Earn points to raise your rank and achieve the Challenger rank. The ranking order is Bronze, Silver, Platinum, Diamond, Challenger. You can earn points by winning matches against the opposing team. All the strength in his body drained away. His stats were halved, and even the effects of his items were cut by half. Win matches to earn points and raise your rank to achieve Challenger status. A simple yet tedious method. It was also a task that took a lot of time. As short as half a year. As long as a lifetime, it could be impossible to pass this ranking system trial. It feels horrible as always. Suyuk frowned at the strange emptiness. The power that had filled his body suddenly halved. He had felt it long ago, but from the very start, this trial was designed to make the player feel a sense of hardship. Of course, it's better than waking up in a trash can. It was 100 times better than the moment he thought he had died, only to wake up in a trash can having lost all his stats. Searching for participants. Search complete. Swoosh dash. The view began to change right then. The surrounding world shifted, and the air changed. A large circular building appeared in front of him. In the distance, lush forests spread out, and 3 paths stretched far ahead. The most commonly used map. The Forest of War. Victor Roman. Platinum 2. Nile Tool. Platinum 3. Roan. Platinum 4. Lee Suyuk. Bronze 3. Lindry. Platinum 2. Lord. Platinum 3. A. The names and ranks of allies and enemies were displayed. Suddenly, 3 players appeared around him in a white light. And predictably, bronze. What's this? Is it a bug? Why is the balance like this? They showed displeasure and confusion at Suyuk's presence, which didn't match the ranks. Dash? E? Why is the queue like this? It's a platinum field lol. Is it really a bug? The viewers were equally baffled. Ranks weren't just labels. Just like the bronze rank capped stats at 50%, stats varied greatly with each rank. Silver ranks retained 75% of their stats. Golds retained 100%, platinum retained 150%, and diamond ranks retained 200%, granting them double stats, which meant platinum players had roughly 3 times the advantage over bronze players. The system is really trolling us, lol. A bronze in a platinum room? This is rare. Ha ha ha. I thought it would be boring, but it's actually amazing fun. Isn't it? Thanks to this unexpected twist, the interest of viewers, which had cooled down before the trial began, suddenly heated up. Suyuk was the only bronze-ranked participant in a platinum room. No matter how skilled he was, the severe penalties imposed by the system couldn't be ignored. What was supposed to be an easy trial abruptly morphed into a hardcore challenge. Welcome to the Forest of War. Defeat your enemies to grow stronger. Destroy the enemy base to win the match. Fight enemies to grow stronger and win. That was the core content of this trial. The problem was, damn it, it's really a bronze? The trial on the 4th floor was mostly team-based rather than individual. How does a bronze get caught in the same queue as us? This is too much, even for bad luck. Right from the start, the atmosphere wasn't good. A scrawny man was glaring at Suyuk right from the beginning. The name Nile Tool was floating above his head. Wait a minute. Isn't he Lee Suyuk? One of the 4 comrades, a female player, looked at Suyuk in surprise. It seemed she recognized Suyuk. That Suyuk? He's been dead for ages. No, not that Suyuk. Fake Suyuk. Fake Suyuk. Yes, the one who does streams. But even after explaining, Niall-Tool's expression didn't change. What, a streamer? There were many players who didn't watch streams. In fact, more people didn't know him than those who did. The only reason some old Suyuk fans were interested was because of the unique nature of the thunder power. Whether Suyuk was a streamer or not didn't matter to Niall-Tool. What mattered was his own trial. So what? Just because he's a streamer doesn't mean he can screw us over. I don't know why this bug happened, but he didn't join our party on purpose. So what? Damn it. If he can't pull his weight, that's trolling. Niall, unable to contain his anger, shouted furiously. At that moment, if you have a brain, why don't you use it? Suyuk, having heard enough, spoke up. What? If you keep getting angry until the match ends instead of starting properly, you won't achieve anything. Who do you think you're? The system is the fairest of all. If you can't see the essence because of ranks, just gouge those eyes out. What? The already tense atmosphere became even more hostile. The tension was so high that it wouldn't have been surprising if a fight broke out among the allies before the match even started. Seeing this, the only female player, Roan, quickly intervened between the two. Come on, guys. Let's not fight among ourselves. Right now, we're a team. I can't team up with a guy like this. You might meet as enemies again someday, right? So save the fighting for then. Niall frowned and replied irritably to Roan's attempt at arbitration. I doubt that would ever happen. Thanks to Roan's mediation, Niall didn't provoke any further, perhaps realizing there's nothing good about clashing too much with a streamer on stream. How about we decide our positions now? Does anyone have a preferred position? Roan, trying to organize the situation, asked. Suyuk responded. Anywhere is fine with me. Send me to the bottom. I can only do mid. After hearing everyone's preferences, Roan pondered for a moment and then spoke. Then Suyuk, please go to the forest. You know how to play that position, right? Yes. The forest position involved less direct confrontation with opponents compared to other positions. Roan's choice likely considered the characteristics of that role. We're in a bit of a disadvantageous situation, but let's try to win anyway. Suyuk, you're talented, so I believe you'll do well. In simple terms, she was asking him to at least pull his weight. Though she didn't speak harshly, Roan also didn't trust Suyuk completely. He's really sidelined. From being the strongest on the third floor to this? Can't be helped since bronze fell into a platinum match. The viewers seem to share the same sentiment. I wonder if you'll even manage to catch the creatures in the forest. Niall couldn't resist leaving a snide remark. Suyuk wanted to say something back but held his tongue. If he said anything more, it would only delay things further. Monsters will spawn in 30 seconds. The final warning message. Come on, let's stop fighting and get going. Suyuk, you two, do your best. With Roan's final words, the team dispersed into the three paths. Suyuk was left alone and entered the forest. With a brief moment of peace. But seriously, why did the queue end up like this? Right? Has this ever happened before? Sometimes we get matched with silvers, but platinum is a bit much. The viewers began to seriously question the situation only then. Why on earth was Suyuk, a bronze rank, stuck in a match with platinum-ranked players? Of course, they could only speculate and couldn't understand the exact intent of the system. But there's one thing for sure. There was one thing, however, that all viewers unanimously agreed on. If he manages to win this, he'll get a massive score boost. If Suyuk could overcome this rank disparity, he stood to gain a substantial number of points. Tails Corner. Time for some MOBA. Chapter 83. Ever since the match started, Niall-Tool hadn't been in a good mood. Streamer? Is that supposed to be a big deal? He could see enemy players and soldiers approaching from a distance. He needed to focus, but he couldn't. That bronze bastard is all talk. What does he think he can do? From the start, this game was doomed. If what that woman Roan said is true, then he's supposedly a pretty skilled streamer. But the stat difference between bronze and platinum is threefold. No matter how good his control was, it was an insurmountable gap. Thunk dash. Swinging a large hammer to take down an enemy soldier, Nile gradually increased his stats. You have defeated a soldier. Stat increase by 1%. Farming is going well. There were 3 ways to get stronger in this game. Defeat enemy players, hunt neutral monsters, or continuously kill respawning enemy soldiers. Players called repeatedly killing soldiers to increase stats farming. What does it matter? We'll lose because of one guy anyway. Thinking that, Nile kept an eye on the enemy player's position. A player sticking close to a giant statue acting as a turret. The moment he attacked that player, the statue would target him. There's no way to win except by getting kills. Is that why he's playing defensively? The game seemed increasingly hopeless. Can't do this, damn it. And at that moment, swish dash. The enemy player who had been peacefully farming closed the distance as if on cue. A dash dot. Another enemy player appeared from the bushes. Seeing the second player appear, Nile felt utterly resigned. Fine. I knew this match was unwinnable anyway. Flash dash. Boom dash. A beam of light was followed by a deafening noise. Arg dash. What's that? Where did it come from? The enemy player hit by the yellow lightning screamed, while the other looked around in confusion. And in that brief moment, flash dash, a second spear of lightning flew. Boom! Clang dash. Blocked by a shield, the lightning still shook the reacting player. Despite the distance, the attacker hadn't even revealed themselves. Is that an ally? A broad smile spread across Nile's face. A savior had appeared at the moment he thought he was finished. Despite having a bronze in their midst, it seemed there was at least one competent teammate. Find that player first. He's in the woods. You're supposed to find him. The 2 enemy players quarreled. Seeing his chance, Nile's eyes glinted. He used a high magic consuming skill. Using Palm Strike. Single hit destructive power increases by 300%. Buzz dash. A swing of the club with a charge. Clang dash. The force of the club dented the enemy player's shield. As one of them staggered back, an ally revealed himself from the forest. And at the moment Nile recognized his ally's face. Bronze. Nile muttered in shock. Despite his stats being halved, Suyuk was moving quickly towards the enemy player. In the next instant, buzz dash. Leaping over the shield, Suyuk swung his sword from behind. Boom! With the sword strike, lightning shot out. Though the power was diminished, Suyuk's blade accurately struck the enemy's neck. Lee Suyuk has defeated Lord. A notification flashed for all participants. As one enemy fell, the other began to retreat towards the statue. No, he tried to. You shouldn't go there. As if he had expected it. Suyuk warned the remaining player. Well, too late. Too late. At that moment, the warned player looked around. Zap, zzz dash. At their feet, a yellow circle glowed. A trap set in advance, predicting the movement path. By the time he thought of escaping, it was already too late. Flash dash. Boom! From the ground up, a bolt of lightning surged. With his whole body electrified, the player rolled his eyes back and trembled uncontrollably. And during that moment, another spear appeared in Suyuk's hand. Thud dash. A long yellow spear pierced through the body. Juj dashta. With a short groan, the second player's life ended. Lee Suyuk has defeated Lindri. In an instant, 2 enemies were down. Nile rubbed his eyes. What is that? But even after rubbing his eyes and looking again, nothing had changed. Is he really a bronze? Instantly, Nile recalled Suyuk's earlier words. The system is the fairest of all. If you can't see the essence because of ranks, just gouge those eyes out. At that time, he thought it was just prideful banter. That wasn't it. Re-examining Suyuk's skill with his own eyes, Nile's thoughts clarified. The gap between bronze and platinum was typically thought to be a 3-fold stat difference. Despite that, the system placed Lee Suyuk among platinum-ranked players, which meant his bronze rank means his stats are comparable to my platinum rank. A chill ran down his spine. Niall thought, just who did he pick a fight with? Liandry has been defeated. Stats increased by 20%. After defeating 2 enemy players, Suyuk felt a surge of vitality. His stats were now almost back to their original levels, even though it was temporary for this match. Wow, amazing. Prediction shot was perfect. Isn't it obvious to run to the statue after one dies? It's impressive to do the obvious things so flawlessly. Suyuk had used 2 spears to hold the enemies in check, creating an opportunity for his ally to strike. And predicting that the remaining enemy would flee towards the statue, he had set traps beforehand. His recent performance was like a perfectly choreographed move. But is this really a platinum-level match? Right? He took them down too easily. Typically, platinum players start with 3 times the stats of bronze players. Given the stat disparity, Suyuk should have struggled more. Yet, he defeated his enemies effortlessly. What's he doing over there? Suyuk glanced at Niall. Among the fighting soldiers, Niall stood there, staring blankly at him. Is he trolling? Oh, he's in shock, isn't he? Speechless, huh? Can't say a word, right? Suyuk approached Niall. What are you doing? Clear out the soldiers and push the statue. The enemies will respawn soon. In the Forest of War, players eventually respawn after a certain time, even if killed. The objective wasn't just to kill enemies, but to destroy the enemy base. To achieve that, they had to first destroy the statues blocking their way. Right? Suddenly compliant, Niall quickly began clearing out the soldiers and attacking the statue per Suyuk's instructions. With Niall getting back to action, Suyuk returned to the forest. A woo-dash! A wolf howled. A new neutral monster had spawned. As Suyuk prepared to hunt it, an alert popped up. Mission villain has registered a mission. Clear the 4th floor within 1 month for 20,000 points. Deal? It was the first mission registered since starting the 4th floor trial. The message he had been waiting for made Suyuk's eyes sparkle. Oh, 1 month? That's too short. It's Lee Suyuk, he needs this kind of challenge, lol. What was the record again? Wasn't it 3 months? 3 months and 2 days. It was the starting signal. A lovely Suyuk has registered a mission. Suyuk Appa. Jingle. I'll also place 20,000 points on the same mission. Fighting. Jingle. Never Give Up has registered a mission. Same here with an additional 10,000 points. Let's go. Great Man Lee 1J has registered a mission. Looks like today's mission is huge. Adding another 10,000 points. Missions kept pouring in. Not only were there many missions, but the amounts were substantial. Because it was a month-long mission after all. Moreover, the difficulty was no joke. A mission to reduce the current record by 1/3. On the surface, it seemed like an unreasonable challenge. However, none of the viewers said it was impossible. As expected, Safety Asset has registered a mission. I bet 50,000 points if you clear it within 15 days. Try it, Safety Asset. Known for betting on seemingly impossible missions, this viewer even have the time frame. A mission that already seemed difficult now appeared almost impossible. Yet the viewers cheered at his appearance. 15 days lol. You devil lol. Huh? But Safety Asset? The man with a 0% success rate. Safety Asset, infamous for never paying up on any mission in other streams, had never won a bet in Suyuk's streams. Safety Asset, you still haven't changed your nickname. Suyuk teased him once again. I'll gladly accept your 50,000 points. Suyuk didn't even glance at the month-long missions. They would automatically be cleared if he passed Mission Villain's mission. To achieve that, however, 15 days. It seemed difficult through conventional means. It might not be fun, but it can't be helped. Back in his lane, Lord murmured as he looked at the statue's stamina. Fortunately, the statue isn't destroyed. Despite 2 members dying, the statue's stamina hadn't significantly decreased. This meant the impact wasn't severe. The issue was that the opponent had gained 2 kills, but that gap could be closed by farming. I was too careless earlier. I underestimated them because they were bronze. Glance dash. Lord glanced in the direction of the forest. The opponent is Lee Suyuk. Remember that. He was aware of the streamer named Lee Suyuk, a player who had recently become a hot topic in the lower floors. Not just as a streamer, but also a super rookie coveted by major guilds. Despite being bronze, he was a player with the lightning skill. Farm safely inside the statue's range and focus on growing stronger first. Lord started taking down soldiers with the help of the statue. Although the statue's stamina decreased slightly during the process, it was worth the trade-off. Thanks to this, he could farm safely. As Lord planned to focus on the late game, zap, crackle dash, a much more powerful spear of lightning than before flew in, not from the front, but from beyond the bushes behind him. Gasp! Clang dash! Desperately raising his shield, he barely blocked the lightning. His hand, gripping the shield, tingled, and he saw something coming over his head. A dive! Ignoring the statue's attacks to take down the opponent. It was a method rarely used due to the difficulty of dodging or blocking the statue's attacks. However, buzz dash! The opponent elegantly dodged the statue's laser, descending directly atop him with a sword. You crazy! Thunk dash! Lee Suyuk has defeated Lord. Lee Suyuk has destroyed the first statue. Messages popped up in quick succession. Having swiftly destroyed the first statue, Suyuk declared, "I'll pave the highway." Chapter 84. Lee Suyuk has defeated Lord. Lord, I'm done. Peace out. Liandry's face hardened as he hunted neutral monsters and saw his teammates' chat message, saying he's done. It was a clear declaration of trolling. Liandry, why are you quitting just because you died? Lord, I've been getting 2v1d constantly. Is that my fault? Watch my back. Liandry, what do you mean 2v1? You keep getting killed by a bronze. Lord, yeah. Forest diff. Pop dash. A vein bulged on Liandry's forehead. As much as he wanted to argue back, he had nothing to say. The differences in their lanes were real. But what am I supposed to do about it? No matter how he looked at it, he hadn't done anything wrong. It was just that their opponent was too skilled. Isn't he supposed to be bronze? What kind of skill is that? Is he really Lee Suyuk or? Not only the initial counterattack but also the subsequent strategies. After getting 2 kills, the opponent had relentlessly targeted one lane. Lord, who then recorded 5 consecutive deaths, lost his mental composure and declared he was done. Even now, Lee Suyuk continued to push the lane. He had managed to get 6 kills. Damn it! No matter how bronze he was, if he kept racking up kills like that, he became hard to deal with. Especially when his team lacked one player, making it a 3v4 situation. The game had already tilted in their favor. And this in just 10 minutes. Asterisk. The game was overwhelmingly one-sided with one player down. The Forest of War map was designed that way. If there's a player missing, it's nearly impossible to win. However, the missing player only sped up the game's conclusion. It didn't change the outcome. Zap, buzz dash. Hidden in the forest, Suyuk moved stealthily, casting spears of lightning without revealing himself. Oh my, amazing. Watching this is so annoying. Really? There was no need for him to show himself. The forest terrain was perfect for hiding and throwing spears from a distance. As a result, damn it. This game is so dirty. Suyuk received the highest form of praise from the remaining 3 enemy players. One entire lane was completely devastated. Noticing the situation, Suyuk's teammates joined in. The game ended in the blink of an eye. You have destroyed the enemy's base. The game is over. Boom dash. They destroyed the final statue in the lane and then the enemy base. The game took just about 17 minutes to conclude. Had his teammates joined him sooner, it would have ended even faster. 17 minutes, wow. That's half the time of a typical match. The other lane's mental state broke down in 10 minutes, they just gave up lol. Suyuk relentlessly focused on one lane. It wasn't out of any special grudge. He just determined it was the best way to end the game quickly. Indeed, after dying 5 times in a row, the enemy player seemed to think there was no hope and didn't step out of the base again. You have earned 147 points. Rank up. Bronze 3 - Bronze 2. Leveled up. Earning 2 stat points. Strength increased by 1. Agility increased by 1. Suyuk's eyes widened at the consecutive messages. 147 points? He had expected to earn a lot of points, but this was way more than anticipated. Typically, winning a match would net around 20 points, so this was about 7 times the normal amount. He thought earning about 100 points would be a lot. 147? Oh, is this a bug too? Crazy lololol. Is he using hacks lololol? A 17-minute match, and 7 times the normal points. Even with simple calculations, this meant he could earn points 10 times faster than an average player. Safety asset? Suyuk mentioned the first name that came to mind. Safety asset has donated 10 points. Oh, come on. Don't joke around. It was the reaction Suyuk had expected. LOLOL. Safety asset is crying LOLOL. It's dangerous. Safety asset's wallet is in danger. While gauging the viewer's reactions, Suyuk calculated how long it would take to achieve his goal. I can't keep earning this many points indefinitely. The reason he got 147 points was that his current rank was bronze. As his rank increased, the points he would receive would likely decrease. But even considering that, if things go well, if I don't lose a single match, I could do it in 5 days. 5 days. Assuming he didn't lose a single match, it seemed possible. At that moment, Safety Asset has donated 100 points. Then how about an extra bet with me? Safety Asset presented another mission. Safety Asset has registered a mission. Forfeit all you've earned from me if you lose even one match. But if you achieve Challenger with a flawless record, 50,000 points. 50,000 points. It was the largest mission ever placed in Suyuk's stream. However, the risk of failure was equally high. Safety Asset is relentless. He's trying so hard to reclaim his points. Achieving a flawless Challenger rank isn't realistic. Suyuk calculated the points he had received from Safety Asset so far and nodded. This is an interesting bet. It was worth attempting. Avoiding such a bet neither fit his personality nor the nature of his stream. Let's do it. Suyuk smiled beneath his mask. Thanks to the mission, what he thought would be a boring trial on the 4th floor had become increasingly amusing. Beyond the time constraint, he couldn't afford to lose a single match. Moreover, this was a team battle rather than an individual one. He had to bear the burden of any mistakes made by his teammates. With the bet accepted, Safety Asset has donated 100 points. Let's see what happens. Before the next game began, Safety Asset sent another ominous message. Asterisk. Streamer Watermoth was a Panthera native named Didara. He averaged about 50 viewers. Even though he had been streaming for quite some time, he hadn't gained much viewership due to lacking any remarkable qualities. His main reason for continuing to stream was simply to scrape together some living expenses. Today, I will definitely reach Diamond, my friends. Watermoth's rank was Platinum 1. He had been stuck on the 4th floor for over 3 years. No, seriously, I will hit Diamond today. Don't believe me? Okay. No stream end until I hit Diamond. As if you're not going to drop. A one-day diamond isn't really a diamond. This guy belongs in Platinum. You won't make it. Despite the troublesome chat messages, he couldn't afford to shut down the stream. He needed to occasionally receive donations to sustain his livelihood. If it weren't for this crappy stream, I would have hit Challenger long ago. The stress from streaming was immense. Challenger. Achieving it would elevate him to the 5th floor, where more skilled players resided. With that, even if he couldn't join a major guild, he might secure a decent guild sponsorship. Just endure until then. While thinking this, search complete. The search for the match was completed, and the new game began. Please, let me get good teammates this time. Water Moth clasped his hands in prayer. The fourth floor's gameplay was said to be half luck, indicating the importance of team support. Like any other player, Water Moth experienced wins and losses depending on his team. The map was the commonly used Forest of War. Following this, the teams and enemies were sorted. Thorbik, Platinum 1. Lee Suyuk, Silver 4. Didier, Platinum 1. Donkey, Diamond 4. Galamik, Platinum 1. A. Names and ranks were displayed clearly. Despite being at the tail end of the spectrum, there were 2 diamond-ranked players due to the high average rank. Among them, however, one player stood out due to vastly different rank. Silver? Lee Suyuk. Both the rank and name instantly caught his attention. As a streamer himself, Water Moth knew Lee Suyuk. Is it really him? Whoosh dash. Water Moth was transported to the Forest of War. He glanced around to see the faces of his teammates. Then he spotted a familiar mask. In an instant, Water Moth's face lit up. This could be a jackpot video. Although his viewership was low, Water Moth edited his own videos and posted them on the player's channel. Most were clips of games he had carried, leading his team to victory. The view count was typically in the hundreds, at most 1,000. With Lee Suyuk's current fame, this should easily get tens of thousands of views. Maybe even more. His joy was short-lived, though. Wait, should I be happy about this? No matter how good Lee Suyuk is, having a silver teammate makes things tough. The stat difference between silver and platinum was double. No matter how exceptional Lee Suyuk's control was, it seemed almost insurmountable. While having a famous streamer on the team was exciting, losing the game wasn't. Well, this game's a bust. At that moment, Safety Asset has registered a mission. 10000 points if you lose the match. An unexpected mission popped up. Water Moth's eyes widened. He hurriedly addressed his viewers through the microphone. Safety Asset, are you serious about this mission? Safety Asset has donated 100 points. Of course I am. Once a mission is registered, that's it. There was no denying it. Once a mission was registered, it couldn't be retracted. From now on, it was one of 2 outcomes. Either succeed in the mission and pocket the 10,000 points, or fail the mission and get nothing. And this mission was far simpler compared to any Water Moth had received before. This is basically telling you to throw the game, lol. Intentionally losing is going too far. Fake Suyuk's viewers might terrorize you for that, though. The game involved lanes and farming. Winning required both player control and growing through hunting and farming. But having an empty spot in the team created an imbalance in growth. For this reason, having one player fall behind often decided the game's outcome. Of course, intentionally making the team lose would earn rightful criticism. Gentlemen, Water Moth suppressed his glee. You just need to try your best and not intentionally lose, right? Water Moth made up his mind. While the game was important, one game wasn't worth 10,000 points. I'll do my best. Let's go. With that amount of points, he wouldn't have to worry about points for a while and could focus on the game. Chapter 85. Suyuk entered the forest once again. He could exert influence on all lanes from there, and given his relatively low stats, securing stats in the forest was most suitable. The game had been underway for about 3 minutes. Just as he had defeated around 10 neutral monsters, a message popped up. Galamik has defeated Didier, a red message indicating that an ally had been taken down by an enemy. Already, the game had barely started, and the crucial mid lane had been breached. This isn't a good start. Doesn't matter. Give it 5 minutes and he'll be raining lightning, vaporizing a whole lane. It's trivial. One death wasn't a huge issue by itself. But something felt off. Just a hunch. But it wouldn't be strange to encounter someone soon. His instincts in these situations were rarely wrong. Suyuk moved to verify his suspicion. Swoosh dash. Approaching the forest near the mid lane, Suyuk saw Didier facing off against an enemy. Didier seemed to stumble, losing his balance and leaning forward. At that moment, the enemy's iron club crushed Didier's head. Squish dash. Galamik has defeated Didier. The same message appeared again. Didier sent an apologetic message to the team. Though he apologized, Suyuk was certain. He's intentionally throwing the game. Intentional trolling. Purposefully causing the team to lose. Such players were not uncommon. When conflicts with teammates grew unbearable, some players would throw the game out of frustration. But this wasn't one of those situations. Right? He's dying too obviously. Did he think we wouldn't notice? Why's he doing that? It was still early in the game, and Didier hadn't had any conflicts with the team. For trolling to occur, there usually needed to be a motive, typically conflict with teammates. While some players might throw games for fun, it was unlikely at the platinum level. This left only one possible explanation. Someone must have paid him off with points. He must have been promised some kind of reward for throwing the game. Sure enough, that guy is a streamer named Watermoth. Safety Asset placed a mission for him to lose. A viewer reported this information, and verifying the report was the task of the curious viewers. Whoa, it's true. Safety Asset is so petty. Does he really want to go this far? If Suyuk loses even one game, he has to forfeit all the points earned so far. That was the bet between Suyuk and Safety Asset. So this is how you want to play? Suyuk's eyes, visible outside his mask, narrowed sharply. He had considered the possibility of a teammate trolling, but he hadn't expected it to be part of a mission from Safety Asset. The usual methods won't work. With an ally intentionally trolling, one lane was completely ruined. If he stuck to his regular strategy, they wouldn't be able to keep up with the enemy's growth. Therefore, though it's a bit late, I have no choice but to increase the tempo now. Suyuk, who had been hunting neutral monsters, changed his course. Since they played dirty, he had to use a more dangerous tactic. Throughout the match, Johan was in a good mood. For reasons unknown, the enemy's mid lane was throwing. It would have been frustrating if it were his own team, but now he was on the benefiting end. This is an easy win. He leisurely hunted neutral monsters. There was no need to perform any special roles for his position. Winning was just a matter of farming. Galamik has defeated Didier, and another pleasing message appeared. Johan continued hunting neutral monsters. Kadash, a giant crow, larger than a person, opened its beak and cried loudly. The neutral monster, Blackbeak. It awarded stats equivalent to about 5 soldiers. So tedious. This guy too. He had defeated it thousands of times. After wandering through this phase for several years, Johan longed to move up. Johan, wearing sturdy gloves, swung his fist at Blackbeak. Thunk dash. Caw dash. Blackbeak's aggro was directed at Johan. And at that moment, there was a flash from the bushes. Boom!
Instinktively, Johan reakted.
His reflexes, honed by experience and bolstered by the diamond-level stats, kicked in. But even so, avoiding a sudden flash of light from a hidden location was impossible. Ugh dashed. A yellow beam pierced Johan's shoulder. His shoulder was momentarily paralyzed. The additional attack came from the black beak he was fighting. Caw dash. Thunk dash. The giant beak pierced Johan's side. He lost his balance, his mind reeling from the impact. Swoosh dash. And without a moment to breathe, an enemy blade pierced his neck. One down. Thunk dash. Lee Suyuk has defeated Johan. Lee Suyuk has defeated Johan. It was the third time the same message had appeared. Galamik, who had just destroyed the first statue, finally lost his cool. You idiots! It was a game they could have won effortlessly. Yet this team couldn't even manage that. 3 times. By now, the impact on his own team was undeniable. Johan. He's in our forest? Why aren't you stopping him? Signal. He only kills when the lane is pushed, so we can't do anything. Rebelli. What are we supposed to do if he's dead before we can cover? The team's atmosphere was tense. Tension was slowly causing fractures. If one more team member decided to throw the game, things could easily tilt against them. Galamik. Let's take it slow. I'm well fed. I can carry this. It wasn't just an empty encouragement. Galamik genuinely believed it. His base rank was higher, and he was still leading with 2 extra kills. As long as he met Lee Suyuk head-on, he was convinced he could win. With that in mind, Galamik continued the game. But then, step dash. Following the lane where the first statue had been destroyed, he saw an unfamiliar face walking toward him. No, he couldn't see the face. It was hidden behind a mask. And that mask was the most recognizable feature of the opponent. Lee Suyuk, the streamer known for his Lee Suyuk persona, whose real name was indeed Lee Suyuk. A player who not only had the skills but also matched the persona, stepped out of the forest and confronted Galamik head-on. But a silver, seriously? Regardless of his reputation, he was still a silver, using only 75% of his potential stats, a pitiful rank. The reasons Lee Suyuk had managed to gather kills so far were twofold. First, he had ambushed allies hunting neutral monsters, and second, his lightning skill was well suited for the forest. Which meant, you've made a mistake, haven't you? If Lee Suyuk stepped out of the forest, he wasn't that intimidating. What mistake? Why'd you leave the forest? Why else? To fight. Galamik snorted at Suyuk's reply. He knew Suyuk was a great player. He had watched his streams, although only once. But that was when they were in the same rank bracket. You're being reckless. Galamik was convinced. Leaving the forest to engage directly was a blunder on Suyuk's part. Did you receive a mission? To stop skirmishing and have a real fight. Too bad. I wish there was such a mission. Even if there was, you wouldn't get it. Galamik sneered as he spoke. In reality, maybe. But here, how could I possibly lose? Silver versus diamond. The difference in stats was more than double. 3 silver players couldn't defeat 1 diamond player. Moreover, Galamik wasn't just any diamond either. Thanks to someone, I got a lot of kills. 5 kills. Although they were mostly one-sided from a single player, this had allowed Galamik to grow significantly. And Suyuk knew this well. That's true. Galamik was different from other opponents. Suyuk's level and stats were fundamentally higher than most players. While he was able to defeat multiple players alone thanks to good skills and outstanding control, the impact of his stats couldn't be ignored. That's why a silver player like him got matched in games with platinum and diamond-ranked players. But the stats Galamik had accumulated from multiple kills in a short duration were much higher than Suyuk's current stats. However, if fighting was just about stats, there'd be no need for the game. This wasn't a card game where damage numbers were fixed. Stats are just one of many indicators. They don't necessarily prove absolute strength. So, if you start acting like you've already won before the battle even begins, crackle dash. Electricity began to flow slowly from Suyuk's fingertips. I, on the other hand, think I'm going to win. It wasn't mere a bluff. Even with the same stats, the effectiveness depended greatly on who wielded them. It took considerable time for the body to adapt to even a single stat increase. There was no way a rookie like Galamik, building stats rapidly through leveling and farming, could handle it. It was a difficult task even for Suyuk, who had previously handled much higher stats. Most importantly, this should be enough. 3 kills. Additionally, he had hunted all the neutral monsters near the enemy's base to gather stats. He restored the stats lost due to his silver rank, and also added up to 50% more stats. Status window. Name, Lee Suyuk. Affiliation, Earth. Level, 40. Strength, 42, plus 21. Agility, 38, plus 19. Stamina, 40 plus 2 plus 20. Focus, 36, plus 18. Magic, 49, plus 19. He felt power surging through his body. Although he wasn't at Galamik's level, it was enough. Crackle, crackle dash. Electricity flowed from his fingertips, spreading throughout his body. The yellow hue darkened, turning black. Another heart beside his own thudded violently, warning of the danger. But for now, even the warning felt exhilarating. How long has it been since I felt this? The thrill of walking a tightrope. The electrifying sensation of feeling like he could incinerate himself if he lost focus for even a second made Suyuk's eyes gleam. And at that moment, boom dash! With a thunderclap, lightning struck Suyuk's body, demonstrating a power once shown by the late Lee Suyuk. Lightning Lord dwells in your body. Tails Corner. Watch out, we've got an inter over here. Chapter 86. Lightning Lord. Suyuk first acquired this skill long ago, around the time he conquered the 7th floor. During a continental war, the Earth team that Suyuk belonged to was at a significant disadvantage. Panthera and Murim had allied. Reversing the numerical disadvantage in a deathmatch was far from easy. Out of 10 representatives, only Suyuk and Kim Il-soo remained for Earth. It looks pretty grim, doesn't it? Kim Il-soo, his face pale and exhausted, surrounded by more than 10 elite players from Panthera and Murim, each the top of their realms. In an almost hopeless situation, Suyuk resorted to a desperate gamble. Let's all die together. Boom! Crackle dash. With a thunderclap, lightning struck, and the magic-infused heart pumped fiercely, dispersing energy throughout his body. For a moment, it felt as if someone had possessed him. When the next message appeared, Suyuk thought it might not be an illusion after all. Lightning Lord dwells in your body. Crackle, crackle dash. Standing before Galamik, Suyuk smiled beneath his mask at the familiar message. It was the same message as before. The energy, as if summoned from elsewhere, blazed fiercely throughout his body. Lightning Lord. The skill that represented him and elevated him to the top. Black color? Isn't that the effect of Lightning Lord? No way. But the effect seems weaker than it should be. Crackle, crackle dash. Black streaks mingled with the yellow lightning flowing through his body. Unfamiliar. Even now, it felt like an external force drawn into him. As if a god had possessed me. TSS dash. Suyuk took a cautious step forward. Careful not to rush, lest the overwhelming power make him charge like a maddened bull. Seeing Suyuk's change, Galamik drew upon his own power. Is this some kind of Lee Suyuk mimicry? What is this? In response to his gesture, the ground around him upheaved. 6 rocky hands sprouted from Galamik's back like wings. In awe of the spectacle, Suyuk murmured, "You really gobbled up those kills, didn't you?" The viewers' reactions weren't much different from Suyuk's. Unlike the faint black lightning around Suyuk, Galamik wielded skills that could fill an entire lane. Each hand could crush a full-grown man with ease. This indicated that Galamik had significantly benefited from his diamond rank and numerous kills. My heart is pounding. That looks pretty powerful. Mission is gonna fail miserably, Even with Lightning Lord, the faint black lightning around Suyuk seemed minimal. Meanwhile, Galamik's skills were vast in range and lethal. Galamik was right. If Suyuk had remained hidden in the forest for ambushes, he might have had a chance. But in a direct confrontation, victory seemed impossible. At least it appeared that way. Crackle dash. With each step forward, Suyuk's hair stood on end, and his heart pounded fiercely. Lightning Lord tests you. Heart of Lightning resists Lightning Lord. Lightning Lord. Penalty decreases by 30%. Thump, thump dash. The 2 hearts alternated their beats. Lightning Lord sought to overwhelm Suyuk's heart, increasing its output, and Heart of Lightning resisted, mitigating the penalty. Furthermore, Selfish Sacrifice LV6 resists damage from Lightning Lord. The newly leveled up skill, Selfish Sacrifice, also served as a foundation to withstand Lightning Lord. This is enough. Step. He could do it. With this conviction, Suyuk didn't stop moving. You learn your instincts while on the move. Pressing down with his heel. Boom! Suyuk's body transformed into a bolt of lightning and shot forward. In the blink of an eye, the distance closed. Galamik's stone arms moved in response. Where do you think you're going, you gnat? To his eyes, Suyuk appeared as nothing more than an annoying gnat. Fast but not powerful. But that was only in his imagination. Crash dash. The stone arm that collided with Suyuk crumbled. Debris scattered into the air as the gap quickly narrowed. That can't be. Something was wrong. Galamik, reconsidering his strategy, retreated towards their base's statue while swinging the remaining arms.
Bang! Grats!
Boom dash! Rocks shattered, and black lightning flashed alongside the thunder. Not only was fighting back futile, just buying enough time to reach the statue from Suyuk in his current state was hard enough. Is he really the Lightning Lord? Initially, Galamik thought it impossible despite the black lightning. And why wouldn't he? This was merely the 4th floor. If reaching the 5th floor signified a seasoned, experienced player, the Lightning Lord was a technique once mastered by top-tier players. The notion that such a technique would be replicated before him seemed absurd. Crash dash. However, that absurdity was now real, shattering all the stones he conjured. Thud dash. The retreating Galamik's back hit something. A gasp escaped as he turned to see what it was. The statue. The most formidable ally any player could have. With it nearby, there was no way Suyuk could get closer. I'm saved. But there was something he didn't know. Thunk dash. Suyuk had been defeating enemies while ignoring statues long before using Lightning Lord. Ugh! Galamik's throat was pierced. The remaining stones around him fell lifelessly to the ground, drained of power. There's one thing guys like you always misunderstand. Ying! The statue's head turned towards Suyuk. You place all your bets on flashy effects, but can't even properly utilize a single skill you have. Buzz dash. Just before losing consciousness, Galamik saw the statue lock onto its target and was convinced the fight would end in a draw. You're dead too, after all. Even if the statue killed Lee Suyuk, the kill would credit him. The statue would count its final target's defeat as a kill for the last enemy player that it battled. Ying! The statue's eyes began to emit a deadly beam. He can't dodge while he's stabbing me. And at that very moment, swoosh dash, Suyuk's eyes rolled back. 2 messages appeared almost simultaneously. Lee Suyuk has ended Galamik's kill streak. Lee Suyuk has defeated Lee Suyuk. Asterisk. Wow, he actually did it? So it counted as a self-kill, lol. The opponent must be crying, lol. But seriously, that was badass. Bulldozing through without dodging anything. In the black void, Suyuk waited to rejoin the game. He had died. While most die 4 to 5 times in a single match, this was Suyuk's first death in this life. He had managed to survive several close calls before now. Safety Asset has donated 100 points. Damn, I should have bet on a no-death challenger mission. Such an annoying guy. All this trouble was due to him. And his premise was flawed. If you had, I wouldn't have taken on this gamble. Suyuk's death was due to Lightning Lord. This wasn't reality but a trial. And in the 4th floor trial, a single death had no significant consequences. This was the perfect opportunity to test Lightning Lord. He pushed its output to the limit, testing his boundaries before dying. And the result? More stable than I expected. Even achieving the skill itself would have met his expectations. But thanks to Heart of Lightning, the output was more than 50% stronger than anticipated. Selfish Sacrifice's penalty suppression was also substantial. My path isn't wrong. There were moments during his streams when he had doubts. Is this truly the right path? Was he over-relying on the Selfish Sacrifice skill? This experience confirmed his choices. Broadcasting was the right decision. Suyuk's eyes sparkled. Safety Asset. Time passed. I will protect the mission reward you placed. You have resurrected. The black scenery reverted to its original color. The resurrection point was at the Allied base. It was time to win the match. The game was turning for the worse. Didier, who had been staring at a black screen for most of the match, chewed on his nails in anxiety. This is driving me crazy. He had over 15 deaths. At some point, Didier had started deliberately dying to the enemy. He had to. Are we going to win at this rate? Lee Suyuk has defeated Signaled. The kill messages kept appearing faster than he could die. All of this was happening because of a single person, Lee Suyuk. What the hell is that idiot Galamik doing? He can't even make use of his kills. They were a player down on their team. Moreover, the enemy team had players he had been feeding kills to. It should have been an unlosable situation. However, the longer the game went, the more the momentum shifted to the other side. Eventually, the tipping scales completely shattered. Lee Suyuk has defeated Galamik. Lee Suyuk has defeated Johan. Lee Suyuk has 3 consecutive messages popped up. The long respawn timer meant Didier had to sit and wonder what was going on. Did he seriously just take down 3 on his own? LOL. A triple kill. Lee Suyuk is doing a one-man show, for real. I knew he was good, but not this good. It's ugly, uninspiring, and he's failed the mission. The viewer's mockery made Didier's head feel like it was about to explode from stress. Right? At this rate, it wasn't entertaining, inspiring, and he wouldn't earn any points. But no matter what he tried, he couldn't make his team lose. Thorbik. Thanks for the carry. Donkey. Huff. Suyuk. Any chance you'd consider duoing with me? Oh. Didier's eyes widened, seeing his teammates' chat messages. It seemed like the game was nearing its conclusion. And indeed, Lee Suyuk had taken down 3 players just moments ago. This is insane. Unable to contain his frustration, Didier swore. Over 500 viewers had tuned into his stream just to watch him fail. At that moment, a whisper arrived from Lee Suyuk. Lee Suyuk. If I couldn't handle scum like you, I wouldn't have started this mission. Didier felt a chilling sensation as Suyuk continued. Lee Suyuk. Even if you want to lose, you can't. Chapter 87. A post appeared on the players' community forum. Play button day 1 of Lee Suyuk's climb, reverse button. Started at bronze 3, currently at silver 1 in just 1 day, lol. It was a short post. However, players familiar with the 4th floor trial found it hard to believe. Really? No way, lol, how do you get to silver 1 in 1 day? Lies. It's impossible to win that many matches in a row. Initially, everyone thought it was a lie. The gap from bronze 3 to silver 1 was 6 tiers. Considering you earn roughly 20 points per win and need 100 points to advance a tier, you'd have to win about 30 consecutive matches. Skill aside, it seemed physically impossible. If that's true, he didn't lose a single match for at least 15 hours. He's only been streaming for 5 hours. Lies, lol. However, but he really is at silver 1. What? You said it's been 5 hours? Yeah, but he's really at silver 1. What nonsense is this? What seemed physically impossible actually happened. Looks like he's getting 80 to 100 points per match. Is that a bug? Then matching a silver with a diamond must be a bug too, lol. Maybe the large rank difference gives massive points? Unbelievable events were occurring on Lee Suyuk's stream. And he wasn't the only one experiencing such oddities. Though it wasn't shown on stream, Schneider is also getting matched with platinum and diamond ranks. Really? Yeah. A friend of mine who's a diamond on the 4th floor faced him. Schneider was facing similar circumstances. And as these unprecedented events unfolded, users of the community turned their attention to the streamer named Lee Suyuk. His name is really buzzing lately. Is he any good? He's been quite popular in the lower floors. Yeah, he even won the tournament hosted by Blue Zone. But isn't he just a loser from the lower floors? The community generally focused on rankers, and especially high rankers within the top 100. It's hard for even the most famous streamers or rising players to get mentioned in the community. Despite this, it's Lee Suyuk. Lol, when will his name disappear? He definitely knows how to attract attention, lol. The reason Lee Suyuk was being mentioned in the community was his name. But didn't he start his climb recently? Yeah, he's already at the 4th floor, damn. That's fast. And a few who noticed his progress commented. This guy has started a mission to reach Challenger without losing a single match for 15 days. Oh. They began to realize how quickly he was climbing the ranks. At this rate, his climb is record-breaking. He's definitely fast. Falcon, I said, In terms of talent, he's better than Lee Soo-yuk. What? That actually turned out to be true? Falcon Eye's statement caught attention amidst the chatter. Falcon Eye was a reviewer known for analyzing the gameplay of high rankers or emerging rankers. This often made him a topic of discussion in the community. Known for his critical reviews, he was referred to not just as Hawk Eyes but Spicy Eyes for his harsh critiques. Slowly but surely, the name Lee Soo-yuk was spreading. 15 hours. During that time, Soo-yuk had reached Platinum 3. He had climbed from Bronze to Platinum in just one day. Notably, about half of that time was spent going from Gold to Platinum. The points I'm earning are starting to slow down. The points from the last match were 40. As the matches progressed and his rank increased, the awarded points started to decrease. Even the match queue times are getting longer. Slower points accumulation and longer queue times were both anticipated issues. Fortunately, the points never dipped below 40. That was enough. Reaching Platinum 3 in a single day was an impressive feat. Let's stop here for today. Platinum 3 in a day, wow. He seriously didn't lose a single match. At this pace, he'll reach his goal in a few days, not a month. 15 hours. It wasn't a brief period. For Soo-yuk, who preferred taking trials in perfect condition, this was unusual. Yet, the reasons for his extended streaming session were twofold. First, the fourth floor trials weren't as tough as other trials match by match. Second, mission completed. You have received 2,100 points from a lovely Soo-yuk. It was all because of this mission. 21 kills, lol. Sweet mission rewards for kills. Money grubber mode on. How much did he earn today? Missions were the primary income source for streamers streaming from the fourth floor. Every match featured various missions. Winning, kills, farming records, and more. Revenue from these missions was substantial. Just today alone, Soo-yuk earned over 40,000 points from them. It's almost a shame to move on to the next floor. The missions were sweet enough to make him wish his points weren't increasing so rapidly. Of course, that didn't mean he could go on streaming without any sleep. By now, having completed trials non-stop for about 15 hours, Soo-yuk was starting to get tired. Coming back tomorrow? Probably. Usually, he takes a day off after moving to a new floor. Soo-yuk nodded at his viewers' questions. Yes, I'll be on. I'll keep streaming without breaks for a while. Whoa! For a while equals until he gets to the fifth floor. At this pace, he'll be there in a few days. Comments hitting the mark. It seemed many viewers had learned Soo-yuk's patterns as the stream went on. With short farewells, Lee Soo-yuk has ended the stream. The long stream came to an end, streaming from morning until dawn. The streets were quiet. Soo-yuk felt hunger as he returned to his dorm. Realizing he hadn't eaten a single meal and had only been taking trials. Thinking he should eat something and get some sleep, he opened the door to his dorm. Right then, "You're back." From inside, Hyang greeted him warmly with her black hair fluttering in the breeze that came through the open door. "Did you stay up waiting for me?" "Of course. I'm your manager. I have to say good job." She shrugged as if it was the most natural thing and asked, "Aren't you hungry?" Perfectly timed question. Alcohol and food. Soo-yuk chose the former as a nightcap. He didn't want to drink too much because of the next day's stream, but he thought a little alcohol might help him sleep better. Moreover, finding food at this late hour without alcohol would be challenging. Slurp dash. This time, they went to a tented street food stall run by a player from Earth. He poured himself a drink and ordered some noodles and a few simple dishes. As Hyang sipped some soup made from chicken bones, she nodded. "Oh, this is good. Right? Everything's nice here. Even in rough places, there are always little gems like this." Her expression changed as she thought of Cheon-ryang. Soo-yuk noticed and asked, "Is something wrong?"
No.
"I was just thinking about the stream." She dodged the question. Although Soo-yuk sensed that she was hiding something, he didn't press further. Forcing someone to speak against their will wasn't his style. There were 13,000 viewers at the end. Perhaps to divert the conversation, Hyang brought up the stream. 13,000 viewers. It was similar to the number from the previous stream. The number of viewers hadn't significantly increased or decreased. Suyuk nodded. Not many people are interested in the fourth floor trials. The stream felt different from the last one. Suyuk's streams typically showcased his ascent up the tower. It combined his name, Lee Suyuk, his concept, lightning, and exceptional gameplay, all contributing factors to his streams. However, this trial didn't fully allow for his usual streaming style. To grow his channel and quickly regain his former strength, he had to move up rapidly. But then, you're talking as if your stream is small. Not really, but... With nothing more to say, Suyuk took a bite of stir-fried meat and drank some alcohol. Regardless, Anhyang continued with her point. Many streamers disappear without even making a name for themselves. They fail to gather even 1,000 viewers, stuck in place while chasing impossible dreams. That was something Anhyang had long observed as a manager. Like many professions, only a few survive. And Suyuk had quickly become part of that few. Despite this, for some reason, I always feel uneasy looking at you. Suyuk stopped eating. Like you're being chased by something? Or chasing something. She had hit the mark. Chasing something. She was right. I have to. He lowered his head slightly, a bitter smile forming. 20 years had passed in the blink of an eye. No one knew his face under the mask. Or even if he took off the mask. Could he even say the face beneath it was his? Either way, it was just another mask for him. Friends who once knew his true face were mostly dead. The remaining few, he wasn't sure if they were alive or dead. Moreover, the person he sought revenge against was once his friend. He was chasing them. His urgency, driven by the need to catch up, was evident in her eyes. I've always been curious. Do you have something you're dealing with? It was an amusing situation. Suyuk could only give the same evasive answer Anhyang had given him earlier.
No.
Nothing. It was a secret he couldn't share with anyone. Telling someone, actually, I'm a reincarnated Lee Suyuk, wouldn't get him anything but a crazy label. Anhyang, too, sensed his answer wasn't the truth. Really? Feeling a bit dejected, she took another sip of her drink. Time passed, and although they had grown close enough to share a drink at night, this conversation introduced a peculiar distance. Each had a secret, and they didn't trust each other enough to share it. This meeting subtly confirmed that fact. I have my faults too. Would there ever be a time when this invisible wall would crumble? That thought turned their simple meal into a deep drinking session. Both Suyuk and Anhyang. They drank together until the early morning. Tail's Corner. Drunk stream incoming. There's nothing better for curing a hangover than a good workout. Sweat of that alcohol. Chapter 88. The next day, Jung Yuhan, a 7th floor player, received a special mission from Blue Zone. Bring Lee Suyuk to them. The method didn't matter, coaxing, negotiating, persuading. And if those didn't work, force could be used. Whatever means necessary to bring Lee Suyuk in. From the Vice Guild leader himself. Step, step, walking somewhat lazily, Jung Yuhan descended to the 4th floor, hands in his pockets. Vice Guild leader Lee Wonjae. While he didn't have warm feelings towards the man, this task came directly from him. It wasn't something he could refuse. Should I consider this a vacation? Regardless of how promising a rookie Suyuk seemed, being summoned for a 4th floor task didn't sit well with him. Felt like a slight, like he was fit for such lowly tasks. Moreover, considering it a vacation didn't quite sit right during such a crucial period for him. I was on the doorstep of the 8th floor. The 8th floor, a dream for countless players. Reaching it meant earning the title of ranker. From that point, players would be assigned rankings by a mysterious organization known as the Ranking Management Bureau, assessing their combat power, influence, and recognition. Naturally, becoming a ranker exponentially increased a player's value. Yet, at this critical juncture, he was wasting time on such an easy task. Not happy about this at all. Stopping, he looked up at the building. A rather expensive lodging in the vicinity. Only rankers or offspring of famous rankers could afford such facilities. Well, isn't he thriving? For a fourth-floor player to lodge in such a place. He knew streamers earned good points, but seeing it firsthand made him envious. No matter how successful, he was still just a rookie who hadn't progressed past the fourth floor. Where an automatic magic stone door opened softly, welcoming Jung Yuhan. He scanned the luxurious hotel-like lobby for Suyuk. And then, "I just need to do it." A voice reached his ears. Someone was watching Suyuk stream, sitting in a cafe in one corner of the lobby. But what caught his attention wasn't the content of her eyes. "She's beautiful." It was her appearance. Long black hair flowing down to her waist, bright eyes, a sharp nose. Her skin was clear and white, coupled with a slender and well-proportioned body. She embodied everything men would label as a beauty. "I get it now." Jung Yuhan indulged in an absurd thought. "I'm here to find my destiny." The decision didn't take long. In fact, there was nothing to ponder. Jung Yuhan walked straight toward her. While she was deeply engrossed in the stream, An Hyang looked up at the pale man approaching her. "Are you alone?" A cliché pickup line. Having dealt with such situations numerous times, An Hyang glanced at him before responding. "I am, but I prefer being alone." "So, you're saying you're alone?" Scrape. Without hesitation, Jung Yuhan sat across from her. "Then this means this seat isn't taken." "Yes, so it's best if you keep it that way, ownerless." "Come now." Jung Yuhan pulled out a business card from his pocket and handed it to her. "Here, this is who I am." "You're really pushing it." As An Hyang sighed, her eyes caught the 3 letters in one corner of the card. Blue Zone. Seeing An Hyang's reaction change for the first time, Jung Yuhan smirked. Predictable. Being affiliated with a huge guild had its perks. The guild's name became synonymous with one's own, and that name usually commanded respect. After a brief moment of staring at the card, An Hyang spoke. "You're from Blue Zone?" Jung Yuhan's smirk grew wider. For an instant, An Hyang felt an urge to wipe that smirk off his face. "Yes, that's right. So, are you interested now?" "You have 1 minute." 1 minute. "Yes, that's how long you can sit there." Jung Yuhan looked taken aback. No one had ever reacted this way to his business card. His pride was wounded, but he couldn't just walk away. An Hyang's appearance kept him glued to his seat. "Why are you here?" "I came for guild business, so it's a bit sensitive to discuss." "Is that so? Then get up. We have nothing to talk about." "Wait, just a second." Hurriedly, Jung Yuhan continued speaking in response to An Hyang's firm words. "It's related to the stream you're watching." "This stream?" An Hyang looked puzzled as she asked. "Yes, but is it really that entertaining? You seem engrossed." "It's very entertaining. Extremely. But isn't he just someone stuck on the 4th floor?" He subtly pushed his card forward, trying to imply that he was more significant than Lee Suyuk. "He's only on his way up. He'll get there soon." "That's something no one can predict." An Hyang raised an eyebrow at Jung Yuhan's words. "Do you dislike Lee Suyuk? Even though you're with Blue Zone?" "Being with Blue Zone means I have to like him?" "Blue Zone is the successor to Blue Eyes, after all." "That's a bit of a misconception." Jung Yuhan scoffed, blissfully unaware that his actions made An Hyang's expression harden once more. "Blue Eyes and Lee Suyuk. Legends, right? I know. I looked up to them back in the day. But a lot of time has passed. The world has changed." Speaking as if he knew the absolute truth, Jung Yuhan began to raise his voice. "Lee Suyuk is an old hero. He was remarkable in his time, but now there are players far greater than him. Time held immense power. 20 years had dulled Lee Suyuk's achievements. In today's era, many had surpassed his legacy by reaching the 9th floor. Among these high-rankers was Blue Zone's guild leader, Kim Il-soo. And you mentioned Blue Zone being the heir to Blue Eyes? Jung Yuhan paused dramatically, as if revealing an important secret. He repeatedly made eye contact with An Hyang before looking around. "But enough of that act. What is it you actually want?" An Hyang had no time for his theatrics. She was deeply connected to Lee Soo-yuk's legacy, not just Blue Zone's name or title. For a man infatuated with a woman, secrets didn't exist. This is confidential, but Jung Yuhan hesitated momentarily before continuing. Well, whatever. Everyone will find out soon. There's an article coming out. An article?
Un Yangesir Perkedup.
At first, she thought he was merely an annoying scout trying to lure Lee Soo-yuk. But now, she felt she might hear something far more intriguing. Yes, it's big news related to Blue Eyes. What is it? One of them is alive. Them. His words were laced with hostility, and it soon became clear why. They've allied with the demons. Bang dash. The door to the dormitory slammed shut. Practically thrown out, Jung Yuhan's face bore a confused expression. Despite laying out his cards, An Hyang's reaction hadn't shifted one bit. Yes, I heard you. Oh, look at the time. It's been more than a minute. With that, An Hyang paid no further attention to Jung Yuhan. She seemed almost angry. Watching her return her focus to Lee Soo-yuk's stream, Jung Yuhan felt a surge of bewilderment. What's her deal? Momentarily forgetting his original mission, he fixated on the image of An Hyang in his mind. She's incredibly attractive. That night, Soo-yuk finished his stream of the day. It's quite late. Broadcast time, 14 hours. 1 hour less than the previous day, but the mental fatigue remained unchanged. Maybe I shouldn't have had that drink. The casual drinking session with An Hyang had unexpectedly stretched long. Initially, he intended just to have a quick drink before bed, but they ended up drinking more than planned. Likely due to the topics and atmosphere of their conversation. He could have used his magic to purge the alcohol from his system, but this time he didn't. For some reason, he wanted to relish the slight intoxication. Already at Diamond 2. At this pace, he could reach his goal by tomorrow? The speed is insane. Is the undefeated run really possible? Diamond 2. The rank Soo-yuk had reached in 2 days. An unimaginably rapid ascent. And this was possible due to Soo-yuk's unique approach to matches. He's breaking the opponent's spirit at a rate of 1 per 2 games, lol. Seriously ruthless. He relentlessly crushes one lane, lol. By completely breaking down one lane, he forced opponents to give up on the match. With that gap created, the match quickly concluded. Soo-yuk would then destroy the statues and charge the enemy base. A unilateral and repetitive pattern. Even though his performance was outstanding, not all viewer reactions were positive due to its monotonous nature. But Soo-yuk's focus wasn't just on entertaining. He had a goal, and he was relentless in pursuing it. It does feel like I'm watching a replay on loop. True that. But it's fun when unexpected missions pop up, While the pace was rapid, the repeated strategy made some viewers find the stream monotonous. However, for some reason, the number of viewers hadn't decreased. Instead, it had slightly increased compared to the previous day. Viewers. 14,903. Approximately 15,000 viewers. As many viewers left due to boredom, new viewers joined. Consequently, the number of subscribers grew faster than before. Subscribers at 60,000. Finding out why the viewer count had surged wasn't difficult. I thought it was just good editing, but he's really that skilled, No kidding, the fight against Schneider was real. Lee Soo-yuk's challenges are legit in real matches. Edited videos had started uploading. Seeing the viewers' reactions, Soo-yuk grew curious. What kind of editing did they do? He couldn't check last night because he had streamed and drank until late. It seemed like he should check it out when he returned to the dorm. That's all for today's stream. Already? He's been on for 14 hours, though. Let him go. Just tuned in, bummer. Soo-yuk consoled his disappointed viewers with a final remark. I'll be back tomorrow. See you soon. Got it. Okay. Then it's acceptable. Subai short for Soo-yuk. Bye. Subai, not a curse word. With those final farewells, Lee Soo-yuk has ended the stream. The second stream from the 4th floor concluded. Step. Dragging his tired body, Soo-yuk headed from the trial grounds back to his dorm. Late hour. On his way back to the dorm, The midnight sky was pitch black, and the streets were silent without a soul. Except for one person. Being a streamer doesn't seem that easy, huh? A man sat on a nearby bench, arms crossed, as if he had been waiting. He stood up and greeted Suyuk. Care for a chat, Junior? Jung Yuhan. He waved at Suyuk. Chapter 89. Suyuk glanced around briefly. In the middle of the square. Given the late hour, there was no one around. No presence could be felt. It was just him and the other person here. The feeling wasn't good. Who are you? Jung Yuhan. I'm with Blue Zone, and I'm a semi-ranker. Suyuk's eyebrow twitched under his mask. It wasn't just the Blue Zone affiliation that bothered him. It was the way Jung Yuhan spoke. He loaded his introduction with flattering words. Putting aside the mention of Blue Zone, he deliberately used the term semi-ranker. A semi-ranker would be at least on the 7th floor. And specifically, it referred to players on the brink of reaching the 8th floor. So, he's got some influence. Despite his messy personality, if what he said was true, he wasn't someone to be ignored. Reaching that level as a player was no small feat. What do you think? Are you interested in talking? About what? Don't play dumb. You must have heard already. Jung Yuhan sneered. Join Blue Zone. We'll treat you well. A scout? Yeah. You've refused a few times, right? Trying to up your price. Having tasted the allure of a large guild. Jung Yuhan assumed Suyuk's refusals were driven by a different motive. He figured Suyuk was trying to increase his value to join the guild. The guild has expressed a willingness to consider that. You can discuss it further with the vice guild leader. The vice guild leader? Yeah. Lee Wonjae. Lee Wonjae. The vice guild leader of Blue Zone and a high ranker who had reached the 9th floor. A place that even Suyuk in his past life hadn't reached. Ordinary people couldn't even dream of meeting Lee Wonjae face to face. But that brat became the vice guild leader? From Suyuk's perspective, Lee Wonjae was like an old lout who used to follow Kim Il-soo. Though now hailed as a great player who had reached the 9th floor, back then he was just another rookie. That guy wants me. No, more accurately, he wanted the power of lightning. But no thanks. The more he thought about it, the less he wanted to join Blue Zone. He had no intention of joining any guild. But if it was Blue Zone, even if someone held a knife to his throat, he wouldn't go. That would be betrayal. To those I once knew. With Suyuk's firm refusal, the smirk on Jung Yuhan's face faded. Not only did he refuse to join right away, but he also declined to even meet. Such an answer wasn't on Jung Yuhan's list of options. Hey, didn't you hear me? Do you know who asked for you? Lee Wonjae. Wonjae. What should I show respect? He's not my superior. To me, he's just a stranger. It wasn't a wrong statement. But nevertheless, no one spoke of Lee Wonjae this rudely. They couldn't. He was one of the rulers of this vast world. Reaching the 8th floor even in the same era as Suyuk, he was a living legend among players. Yet, to speak of Lee Wonjae like this, you must have eaten something bad. I haven't eaten anything, so I'm hungry. I think I've given my answer. Go and deliver the message. I'm off. Step. Suyuk began walking directly away. But after only a few steps, where do you think you're going? Jung Yuhan stopped Suyuk once again within those few steps. We're not done talking. Suyuk sighed internally, hoping the matter would end here. Well, if it could be resolved simply through words, they wouldn't have sent someone like Jung Yuhan. Blue Zone spared no expense, sending a semi-ranker, a valuable asset. Sending Jung Yuhan meant they were prepared for physical force if necessary. So, you'll have to come with us. What if I refuse? Your consent doesn't matter. As expected, Suyuk nodded, half expecting this outcome. One fortunate aspect was that Blue Zone prided itself on justice. And Jung Yuhan seemed deeply loyal to such ideals. You plan to cause a scene here? Suyuk looked around. While the square was empty, continued commotion would eventually attract attention. And a scene involving a recently famed 4th floor streamer wouldn't go unnoticed. However, Jung Yuhan seemed indifferent. Anyway, mid-sentence, the distance in the voice shifted. It'll be over soon. Suddenly, the voice was right next to him. Crackle. A yellow light filled the dark square. Zap. Jung Yuhan's hand grasped at thin air as Suyuk's body shot forward, widening the gap between them. Using his lightning agility, Suyuk had evaded Jung Yuhan's grasp. Over soon? What was that? Jung Yuhan's mouth closed. Even in the dim light, his face seemed to redden slightly. Quite embarrassing. But, you handle yourself better than I thought. Jung Yuhan mentally revised his assessment of Suyuk. In terms of talent, he surpasses even Lee Suyuk in his prime. That was the assessment of streamer Falcon Eye. Jung Yuhan had thought it was overly generous praise from someone within the same company. And he wasn't alone. Many players believed there was some manipulation in Suyuk's Scarecrow trial results. But Jung Yuhan wasn't foolish enough to deny what he witnessed firsthand. Though it's embarrassing, this magic quickly spread from Jung Yuhan's feet. Flash! Suyuk, who had tensed momentarily, realized he didn't need to dodge. It wasn't the type of skill to evade or block. You should appreciate the Vice Guild leader's foresight. Step. Jung Yuhan took a step towards Suyuk. To see this far ahead, the surrounding sound echoed oddly. As if hitting a wall and bouncing back, it sounded stifled. Suyuk seemed to understand the nature of the skill. Silence. A field-type skill that silences and blocks sound. Quickly analyzing the skill, Suyuk realized that escaping this situation had just become more difficult. This is a nuisance. Normally, causing a bit of commotion would be enough to drive the opponent away. After all, spreading this situation wouldn't benefit them. Subtle tactics won't work. The opponent was a semi-ranker. 7th floor. Nearing the 8th floor, in fact. Even considering Suyuk's own abilities, overcoming someone who had cleared 3 more trials than him wouldn't be easy. Crackle dash. He summoned the lightning within his body. With selfish sacrifice in effect, the lightning's output increased. Summon the lightning and draw upon the power of the item. Sling dash. Drawing his sword, the red blade of the magic sword gleamed. The nameless magic sword. It was obtained after clearing the 1st floor, a creation by the famed blacksmith Kindray. Though he hadn't yet used the item to its maximum potential, now wasn't the time for holding back. Lightning activated. Nameless magic sword absorbs user's stamina. All stats increase proportionally to the stamina consumed. His muscles felt as if they were being torn apart. Simultaneously, his body felt light, paradoxically filled with overwhelming power. Selfish sacrifice LV6 resists damage from lightning. Selfish sacrifice LV6 resists damage from nameless magic sword. His endurance, built up over countless streams, kept Suyuk going. Normally, he would use his skills conservatively, ensuring he could withstand the strain. But now, this isn't the time to be cautious. Fighting the opponent before him required pushing his limits. Selfish sacrifice LV6 failed to resist. Heart of Lightning resists damage from lightning. His entire body tingled. Yet, the power surging through him filled him with confidence. The past 2 days of grueling trials had been worth it. The stats he gained while ranking up amounted to 37. The 4th floor trials focused on securing a player's basic stats. And for Suyuk, those stats were crucial. You should have come 2 days earlier. Step. Suyuk's eyes glowed golden as he walked towards Jung Yuhan. Then maybe you could have one. In front of the dormitory, the early morning air was chilly. An Hyang paced back and forth near the building, unable to stay inside. She was waiting for Suyuk, who had just ended his stream, and her mood wasn't great. What should I do? Blue Zone's attempts to recruit Suyuk had become quite aggressive. Though Suyuk had expressed his refusal to her, human feelings could be unpredictable. If Blue Zone offered conditions that were impossible to reject, what should I do as his manager? A manager's role was to act in the best interest of the streamer. That's what she had learned from John Dale. Even if the streamer clashed with Balhi Entertainment, a manager should be on the streamer's side. And based on that principle, should I let him go? Blue Zone was a huge guild. No matter how good the streaming profession was, they were a massive force that ruled this world. Balhi Entertainment was just a large company with a foothold in that world. If it was Lee Soo-yuk with his talent, he was sure to rise high within Blue Zone. Moreover, while Jung Yoo-han's demeanor was slimy and unpleasant, An Hyang liked Blue Zone as a guild. After all, its guild leader was once a companion who wrote legends alongside Lee Soo-yuk. For the streamer's benefit, after much contemplation, I should tell him. An Hyang decided to inform Soo-yuk about what happened today. The company might not like her decision, but so be it. Sai-da. Even after making the decision, she didn't feel any better. In fact, her expression grew darker. If her actions led Soo-yuk to join Blue Zone, if he had to stop streaming due to non-compete clauses or simply because he no longer needed to, she felt she'd regret her decision. Maybe I shouldn't tell him. Just as she was wavering internally, her ears perked up. Soo-yuk Nim. Chapter 90. Flash dash. A sudden glare so intense it could blind pierced his eyes. Instinctively, Jung Yoo-han shielded his eyes with one hand while drawing a weapon from his inventory with the other. Clang dash. And at that moment, two swords collided, sparking with the electricity of lightning. Crackle dash. Like many players from Earth, Jung Yoo-han's primary weapon was a sword. But getting this close wasn't a very wise choice. His real weapon wasn't something as simple as a sword. Now you can hear me better. Bzzzzz dash. A ringing echoed in Soo-yuk's ears. When he noticed the strange signs and stepped back, it was already a step too late. You have heard the curse of confusion. All pain increases by 100%. All 5 senses are dulled by 50%. Status effect. Fear has begun. Skills were activated through speech. It was exceedingly easy to manipulate for a curse-type skill. The Curse of Confusion. This skill, with an 80% proficiency rate, was the one that made Jung Yoo-han who he was. The Curse of Confusion spared neither humans nor monsters. Once you're caught, it's over. Paralyzed senses and engulfed in fear. At that moment, crackle dash. A net of yellow electricity spread around Jung Yoo-han. What the? Boom! Suddenly, the net tightened with increased power. Jung Yoo-han swung his sword, releasing his magic. A simple and inefficient expenditure of magic in a moment of crisis. Crackle dash. Still, thanks to his high stats, tearing the net wasn't difficult. But in that brief moment, Jung Yoo-han realized that Soo-yuk, who had been close by, had disappeared somewhere. This guy, where did he go this time? At that moment, a blinding light shimmered before him, and something dangerous grazed past Jung Yoo-han's head. Flash dash. A spear. He couldn't see its form clearly. No, there was no time to see. Before he could identify it, Jung Yoo-han ducked. Questions kept flooding his mind. Making a spear out of lightning this quickly and throwing it? But he couldn't continue fighting while pondering. Jung Yoo-han revealed himself again and turned to face the approaching Soo-yuk. Still, his movements aren't untrackable. His thoughts suddenly cut off. A strange sense of incongruity. The sword that should be in Soo-yuk's hand was gone. Where did it go? No way. The one he just threw? If his thoughts had been even slightly later, Jung Yoo-han's life would have ended. Jung Yoo-han's head turned backward. Right then, the sword he thought was a spear was flying towards him. Gasp! He ducked again, narrowly avoiding it. The sword, carried back to Soo-yuk's hand by magnetic force, was gripped tightly, aimed at Jung Yoo-han, who had dodged the flying sword. Vroom dash. Soo-yuk struck down with all his might, wielding a sword charged with lightning. Boom! As the sword touched Jung Yoo-han's body, an explosion occurred. A pillar of lightning shot up so bright it lit up the entire square. All sound around them vanished. Soo-yuk, unleashing the lightning, didn't stop there and swung his sword again. He didn't think Jung Yoo-han would fall that easily. And as he thought, Jung Yoo-han's hand extended out from the pillar of lightning. Thwack dash. When Suyuk evaded and increased the distance between them, he saw Jung Yuhan, his face blackened from the burns. Maybe it was a bit too weak. The power should have been stronger. To bridge the gap in basic stats, something unexpected was needed. And that unexpected tactic worked. The only downside was the lack of finish. The damage wasn't sufficient to decisively cut off Jung Yuhan's breath in a single strike. Cough hack. Jung Yuhan gasped heavily, struggling for breath. Feeling a paralysis extending up to his neck, he glared fiercely at Suyuk. This damn! His pride was severely battered. More than battered, it was torn to shreds, to the point he couldn't even lift his head. No matter how he looked at it, it seemed like he was losing to a player from the fourth floor. And the reason for the current turn of events was nothing other than a one-sided defeat in their strategic battle. If we are just talking control, you're better than Lee Suyuk in his prime. Streamer Falcon Eye's evaluation of Lee Suyuk. In reality, Falcon Eye had mentioned several times that, purely in terms of talent, Lee Suyuk was more outstanding than Blue Eye's Lee Suyuk. Of course, Jung Yuhan didn't believe it. He dismissed it as a joke from the streamers who loved creating buzz. He thought it was pure nonsense. But I can't believe that's true. The specs of Lee Suyuk, wrapped in lightning, were clearly not something to underestimate as a player from the fourth floor. He was fast and powerful. Above all, his mastery over lightning was astonishing. Creating a net out of lightning? Creating a weapon using a single attribute is never an easy task. Unlike simply releasing energy, it requires high-level concentration and precise control. Moreover, maintaining such control and concentration while fighting was several times harder. Yet, the guy in front of him was creating not just a simple weapon but a net. How on earth he managed to create such a thing, even a semi-ranker like Jung Yuhan couldn't fathom. Moreover, he creates a magnetic field to freely control the weapon's position. Throwing the sword was to make me believe it was a spear. His sense in using skills was top-notch, and he had a strategic mind that induced the opponent's misconception. Just how many things had he shown in this brief exchange? His talent had the power to overturn the difference in their weight classes. A monstrous guy. Jung Yuhan composed himself and stood up. Though his face was slightly burnt, fortunately, there were no critical injuries. He regained his composure as he fixed his gaze on Suyuk once more. Still. Humdash. He began gathering magical power from his toes, watching Suyuk's face turning increasingly pale. The curse hasn't been lifted. The curse of confusion that had been gnawing at Suyuk's brain since the moment the fight began. Clang dash. The swords clashed, and Suyuk's body was pushed backward. Quickly regaining his balance, Suyuk's body surged upward with a crackling sound. Pushed back, Suyuk charged toward Jung Yuhan again. All around, spheres of lightning that Suyuk had created floated in the air. Why? Jung Yuhan didn't dodge but parried Suyuk's sword. Clang dash. This time too it was Suyuk who was pushed back. To this guy, I must look like a terrifying monster. My sword swings must feel as heavy as a giant's club. From the beginning, this was an unfair fight. An opponent caught by the curse of confusion has dulled senses and is ensnared in fear, fighting against their own nightmare. In other words, it's like fighting with several steel bars strapped to their body. Despite that, Suyuk hadn't lost his resolve even a bit from the start until now. Boom dash. With a thunderous roar, he relentlessly charged again. A feeling of discomfort and a peculiar sense of pressure hit Jung Yuhan simultaneously. Why? And then Jung Yuhan realized the source of that discomfort. Why does he seem to be getting stronger? From the start, Suyuk had been getting faster and stronger. Using lightning should have drained his stamina, making him weaker. Like a high-performance engine gradually heating up after ignition, Suyuk was increasing his output. Thud dash. This time, Jung Yuhan didn't parry but kicked. Suyuk staggered backward after being struck in the shoulder. Damn, I can't just kill him. As he muttered in rising anger, Jung Yuhan's eyes widened. No way. Does he know? Stagger dash. Suyuk, who had been kicked away, quickly regained his balance. Lifting his head, Suyuk looked at the draconic giant he assumed was Jung Yuhan. Annoying, this skill. That was Jung Yuhan. There was no doubt about it. Unless he was dreaming, there was no way Jung Yuhan had suddenly turned into a dragon. The curse of confusion. From the moment he was caught in it, Jung Yuhan appeared as a giant with a dragon's head over 5 meters tall in Suyuk's eyes. Suyuk had been fighting such a creature all along. But he'll try to capture me alive as much as possible. Despite everything, he hadn't forgotten the essence of the situation. Though all his senses, including sight, told him that the enemy was a giant with a dragon's head. He was merely caught in the skill. It was undoubtedly Jung Yuhan. So, the opponent's goal is capture. Therefore, he must maximize that to his advantage. No need to rush. Thump, thump, thump dash. His heart pounded. The heartbeat of his lightning heart quickened, increasing his power output. In the beginning, it was challenging to face him head-on. As time passed, colliding with the giant seemed increasingly doable. Crackle dash. Lightning began to flow from his heart, gathering at his fingertips. Thanks to the kick, the distance between them had increased just enough. Crackle dash. The spear of lightning started to take shape in his hand. Jung Yuhan, sensing the danger, charged toward him. Before the spear could fully form, Suyuk initiated the throw. Whoosh dash. Boom dash. The lightning spear flew, aiming for Jung Yuhan's head. A black veil unfurled from the tip of Jung Yuhan's swinging sword. The lightning spear broke through the veil, reaching right in front of Jung Yuhan's face. Boom! The lightning spear exploded, sweeping the surroundings. While the power was reduced, the damage was considerable. Staggering, Jung Yuhan gritted his teeth. I can't win like this. The thought of needing to capture him was holding him back. No. During the fight, he realized it wasn't just the idea of capture. The opponent was never an easy target to begin with. He needs to be killed. There would be nothing worse than letting him escape here. What the guild emphasized most when assigning missions was discretion, especially when force was necessary. However, the plan had gone awry. What he thought was just a slightly bigger rat turned out to be a ferocious beast. Looks like he has made up his mind. Suyuk noticed the change in Jung Yuhan's demeanor. He had hoped Jung Yuhan would keep aiming for capture. But now he had to change his strategy too. Can I do it here? Suyuk's most powerful card was undoubtedly the Lightning Lord. Activating that skill allowed Suyuk to boost his specs as if he had become a completely different person. But right now, he could only use it for about 10 seconds. If he exceeded that time, the penalty could be fatal. Can I finish it within that time? It was a risky gamble, and it wasn't a move Suyuk preferred. He always sought methods that guaranteed victory. But now wasn't the time to be picky. Let's do it. Crackle dash. Just as Suyuk was about to use the Lightning Lord, the wide area silencing skill used by Jung Yuhan was torn apart. Screech dash. Sounds could be heard. Someone had entered the area. Both Suyuk and Jung Yuhan turned their heads simultaneously. Chapter 91. Thud dash. The slow footsteps echoed loudly. When emotions run high, they often show more through actions than expressions or words. That was the case with Unhyang now. Suyuk, observing her seemingly calm demeanor, was certain. She was angry. You are. Jung Yuhan's eyes widened at the familiar face. She was the beauty he had seen on the first floor of Lee Suyuk's place. He had clearly remembered her face because he had fallen for her at first sight and tried to hit on her. But for her to be here now, what's your relation with Lee Suyuk? Jung Yuhan asked, and Unhyang replied, Manager. Manager? Of this guy. She hadn't mentioned that when they met before. Jung Yuhan frowned in displeasure. You deceived me. I didn't deceive you. I just didn't tell you. Don't get it twisted. She wasn't wrong. But in that short and unremarkable conversation, Jung Yuhan felt a peculiar sense of incongruity. What was the difference? The woman in front of him looked the same, but she seemed like a completely different person, as if someone else's soul had entered her body. The chilling atmosphere, which seemed to lower his body temperature, made it impossible for him to speak to her as eagerly as he had in the morning. You said you were from Blue Zone? At An Hyang's question, Jung Yuhan looked troubled. Back then, mentioning the name of the giant guild had acted as a business card, a halo for him. Now, however, the name of that giant guild had turned into a weakness. The fact that a guild like Blue Zone was forcibly recruiting players must never be revealed. Why had Blue Zone sent him? To handle such situations silently, they selected someone with the Silent Night skill. But now, Balhe is a large company. If they start spreading public opinion, things could get too big. Such matters must be handled discreetly. Even if giant guilds aren't all good and law-abiding, these actions should never come to light. If this matter were to be exposed, I wouldn't just fall out of favor with the vice guild leader. Shadash. Jung Yuhan's gaze alternated between Suyuk and An Hyang. There were two options. Silence them through persuasion. Or, do you think you can manage? Just as this thought occurred, with your standing? An Hyang's voice came close, a voice as sweet as honey whispering in his ear. The moment he sensed that her breath mixed with her words, Jung Yuhan heard a cracking sound in his throat. What is? As he felt his consciousness fade, Jung Yuhan's last vision was of An Hyang twisting his neck. What happened? Thud dash. Jung Yuhan collapsed to the floor. Suyuk was equally stunned by the sudden event. How did she move? Even with his dynamic vision, he couldn't see clearly. It seemed as if she kicked the same spot repeatedly, and suddenly her position changed to be behind Jung Yuhan. Felt like watching magic. It resembled some kind of footwork technique, but he couldn't tell what exactly it was. There was no longer any need to use the Lightning Lord. Suyuk looked at An Hyang with astonished eyes. I thought she was skilled, but even though Jung Yuhan was injured and exhausted from fighting him, An Hyang subdued a semi-ranker with a single move. Something that even many rankers would find difficult, An Hyang had done with ease. Having such skills yet serving as a manager? She was a truly enigmatic person. Why are you looking at me as if I'm a monster? Did she notice Suyuk's gaze? You can easily achieve this too, Suyuk-nim. Just give it about 6 more months. 6 months. It was a generous evaluation. Although he didn't know the exact extent of her skills, it was clear that no ordinary player could reach her level with just time and effort. That was the realm of talent. I never looked at you like a monster. It seemed like you did. I was just surprised. You fought better than I expected, and I was curious how you got here. At Suyuk's words, An Hyang glanced down at the fallen Jung Yuhan. I met him this morning. This guy. Yes, he suddenly hit on me, and I wanted to teach him a lesson. The deadly aura from a moment ago was gone, and An Hyang was back to her usual self. You could have easily done so. He suddenly gave me his business card, saying he was from Blue Zone. I thought I should at least hear him out. An Hyang briefly explained what had happened with Jung Yuhan. Additionally, she shared the concerns she had until just a moment ago. Looking at it now, my worries were unnecessary. Seeing you fight like this, it seems you've already made your decision. If you mean that decision, I made it a long time ago. But you never know, right? If given a huge offer, even you might waver. Besides, from what I see, you're worth it. Despite pouring out her concerns, An Hyang's face looked somewhat refreshed. She felt relieved, having resolved the issues that had been troubling her. But I was wrong. Even if you decide to join such a guild, I won't let you. I've already declined. Oh, right. Haha. Realizing she had been worrying for nothing, An Hyang laughed awkwardly. Torn between wanting to stay together and wanting the person she genuinely liked to be in a better place. She had been debating between these feelings, but Suyuk had already made his decision. By the way, An Hyang, realizing the gravity of the situation a bit late, prodded Jung Yuhan with her foot and asked, what should we do about this? We should report it to the company, right? Blue Zone had attacked a streamer. Whether a streamer or not, a giant guild oppressing an ordinary player was a significant issue. If this information became public, it would likely hurt Blue Zone's image considerably. They need to be publicly shamed. Let's report it to the team leader first. But let's hold off on making it public for now. What? Why? Because that would mean a full-scale war between us, Balhi, and Blue Zone. Blue Zone is a giant guild. And in this tower, a giant guild is like a state, a massive organization with great power. Making enemies with such a force is never a good choice. However, it shouldn't be simply overlooked either. A worm that doesn't even squirm when stepped on keeps getting trampled until it dies. We needed to show that we have hidden fangs too. Being a streamer has its perks in situations like these. Suyuk smiled as he looked around. The clearing became a wreck after the fight. Glancing at the scorched ground, broken and burnt chairs, and planters, Suyuk continued. Let's go live. Right here, right now. Asterisk. In the late hours of the night, Lee Won-jae woke up in his dark room. Buzz, buzz dash. His kit was ringing at this late hour. Typically, such a thing wouldn't happen. Lee Won-jae didn't get annoyed or angry. Instead, he hurriedly checked the kit. The fact that someone would contact him at this hour meant it was an urgent matter. What is it? Deputy Guild Leader, there is something you need to check. Check? At this hour. The person on the other end was his personal assistant. Someone who handled everything from official tasks to minor chores. He wasn't one to make a fuss. Yes, a streamer named Lee Suyuk. Hearing the name, Lee Won-jae sat up in bed. Hang up. Lee Won-jae checked the list of ongoing streams. Since he had always been interested, he had subscribed to Lee Suyuk's channel. Despite the late hour, quite a number of viewers were watching Lee Suyuk's stream. Viewers. 533. Over 5,000 viewers. Though it seemed many, it was actually fewer than usual for Lee Suyuk, considering his regular viewership. However, what really caught Lee Won-jae's attention wasn't the number of viewers, but the title. Title. Attacked without reason. An ominous title. Not too long ago, he had ordered Jung Yoo-han to bring Lee Suyuk over. The timing suggested the two would have met today or tomorrow. Lee Won-jae entered Lee Suyuk's stream. The location wasn't a trial site. It was an open space on the 4th floor, charred black everywhere, with shattered and broken items scattered around. I didn't expect assassins even outside of the trial sites. The stream was ongoing. It didn't seem too long since it started. That might explain why there were fewer viewers. Really? A real-life assassin? This is rare. Rare? It's freaky as hell. Who did it? Naturally, the viewers were in an uproar. Their favorite streamer had been attacked. Fans were bound to be outraged. Did he fail? This was an unexpected turn of events. Even if the persuasion didn't work, failure wasn't something he had considered. No matter how talented someone is, there are limits to that talent. Even if they possessed a brilliance akin to the real Lee Suyuk, there was no way a player from the 4th floor could win against a semi-ranker. So then, did Balhi assign a bodyguard to him or something? That was the only plausible explanation. And surprisingly, that guess was nearly accurate. The only difference was that it wasn't a bodyguard but a manager. This is troublesome. Now he understood why he was woken up at this late hour. Lee Suyuk was a rather famous streamer. Moreover, Jung Yoo-han likely didn't use full force right away. So Lee Suyuk must know who was behind this. If this information were broadcasted, Blue Zone would quickly be held accountable. Lee Won-jae furrowed his brow. No way. His attention glued to the stream. Slowly, Lee Suyuk began to speak. I don't know the mastermind yet. A relief. If the name Blue Zone had been mentioned here, public opinion would have erupted. But still, Lee Suyuk's words weren't finished. I have some guesses, but since nothing is certain yet, I can't say for sure. Could that be true? It was odd. If it were true, it meant Jung Yoo-han had tried to recruit Lee Suyuk without revealing the mastermind. That made no sense at all. What's really going on? And then it happened. Buzz dash. A call came through the kit. Once again, it was his personal assistant. Yes, I'm watching it now. It's not about that. What is it then? With his sleep disturbed and now dealing with this irritating situation, Lee Won-jae's voice sharpened like a knife. There's someone who wishes to meet you, Vice Guildmaster. Me? Yes. Before Lee 1J could inquire further, the assistant quickly added, It's John Dale, the head of Balhe's Management Division, Chapter 92. The short stream ended. The content of the stream was simple. The stream wasn't aimed at the viewers but at a specific someone. Do you think they saw it? Anhyang asked with a worried voice. Considering the late hour, someone would have seen it. It's just a matter of time, but the message will get through. After ending the stream, Suyuk walked back to the dormitory with Anhyang. Major guilds value their reputation above all else, and this incident is the perfect way to tarnish that reputation. Why not just expose everything? It would feel so satisfying. It would feel great, but Suyuk shook his head. From that moment, Balhe and Blue Zone would be enemies. Me included. It was still too early for that. Instead, it was a warning, never to try such a prank again, using the medium of a stream. Streamers. The power of this profession lies in its ability to rapidly disseminate information to a wide audience. And that power is precisely why major guilds hesitate to mess with companies like Balhe easily. The same was true for Suyuk. Well, the team leader will handle the details. He had informed John Dale about the incident. Handling this was not Anhyang's job as a mere manager. Even though her skills were remarkable, she wasn't at the level to confront a major guild. This was a time for words and strategy, not brute force. In that aspect, Suyuk had considerable trust in John Dale. True, the team leader is exceptionally good at handling such things. Though it sounded dismissive, Anhyang also trusted John Dale. He was someone who could survive even in hell with just his tongue. Essentially, he played the most crucial role in this incident. Can you stream tomorrow? I'm not significantly injured, just a bit tired. Suyuk honestly replied about his condition. There were no direct injuries or damages from his fight with Jung Yuhan. The heavy fatigue weighing on his body was entirely due to the backlash from using lightning. What would have happened if the fight continued? He continued the battle in his mind. Jung Yuhan, intent on killing. Suyuk planned to quickly settle the score using the Lightning Lord. The time given was about 10 seconds. Could he have beheaded Jung Yuhan within that time? I don't know. It seemed both possible and difficult. Faring this well against a semi-ranker was commendable, but it left him thirsting for more. I still have a long way to go. He needed to reach a level where his weapon could be real power, not just a stream. To climb higher and gain more strength as quickly as possible. I'll stream, and I'll take the trial too. You could take a day off. Anhyang's voice trailed off, showing her concern. As they continued walking. Oh right. Anhyang recalled something Jung Yuhan had mentioned and spoke up. This might be a bit trivial and unverified though. Trivial? Yes. Should I not mention it? It's related to blue eyes. Suyuk's eyes widened. No, please. Tell me. A firm answer, almost burdensome in its intensity. Anhyang, not expecting such a proactive reaction, replied in a slightly awkward tone. Well, they say there's a survivor from Blue Eyes. Thunk dash. Suyuk's foot came to an abrupt halt. The sounds of the world disappeared, leaving only Anhyang's voice in his ears. It felt like his heart stopped, turning cold and rigid alongside his legs. A survivor? Yes? Yes. Where is that place? His words stumbled out, and his heart started beating several times faster, as if making up for the earlier pause. Seeing Suyuk's serious reaction, Anhyang answered hesitantly. I didn't hear where exactly. And with her next words, Suyuk's complexion turned pale behind his mask. But that survivor is said to be colluding with demons. Asterisk. The next day, a notice was posted on Suyuk's streaming station. Due to personal matters, the streamer will take a day off today. Unexpected news of a break. Naturally, the reactions of the viewers were intense. They thought it would only take another day or two to get to the next floor. But now the sudden break. Taking a break just like that. So what's the personal matter? Is it because of the attack yesterday? Don't leave us in the dark. Lol. Lol promises are meant to be broken. I guess? Sigh dashed up. Unhyang, sitting alone at a cafe and reading the comments, sighed. Seeing such comments on the notice she personally posted made her feel uneasy. But if she felt frustrated, what about the viewers who didn't know the situation? Who would have thought he'd suddenly declare a break? The facts haven't even been confirmed yet. Unhyang lightly thumped her own head. Ugh, I shouldn't have said anything. The source of the information was Jung Yuhan. Unhyang had seen Jung Yuhan boastfully exaggerate himself before. In other words, his credibility was low. Why is he so obsessed? Yet, despite the lack of credibility, Suyuk reacted more seriously than ever. There's a survivor from Blue Eyes. That survivor is said to be colluding with demons. Suyuk's gaze changed at these 2 points, and both times it was in response to stories related to Blue Eyes. Does it have something to do with him wearing the mask? She didn't believe he wore the Lee Suyuk mask just for popularity. But neither did she think he was weak-minded enough to be shaken by an unconfirmed rumor. Then suddenly, she recalled the conversations they had while drinking a few days ago. When she mentioned it seemed like he was chasing something, Suyuk had brushed it off, not wanting to answer. She thought they had grown closer, but he was further away than she had imagined. Suyuk secluded himself in his room, staring intently at his kit. Since his reincarnation, he had never spent an entire day just searching through the kit like this. And, just like then, the reason remained the same. Could someone else still be alive? Thump. Since yesterday, it felt like his heart was hammering in his ears. Could it be Sherwoo or Yerong? He had cast 4 people away using an item. Out of those, he suspected 2 might still be alive. Namely, Sherwoo and Yerong.
No.
That can't be. Suyuk shook his head. Demons. They were strange creatures that appeared sporadically in this world, capable of traversing floors like players, communicative with humans, capable of ascending and descending the tower, and growing stronger similarly to players. Some players claimed that they were the nemesis they would have to fight in the battle to come. Countless players had died at their hands. Demons, much like how players hunted monsters, actively hunted players. Long ago, one of his comrades had been killed by their hands. Sherwoo and Yerong, of all people, wouldn't do that. If they were alive, they wouldn't. Revenge aside, they were demons. Sherwoo and Yerong particularly harbored deep hatred towards demons. So that left 2. If anyone would willingly join hands with demons, there was one person who came to mind. Could it be? Suyuk scrutinized the kit screen closely. His search terms were Blue Eyes and demons. He hoped to find any related information, even if it was just a rumor. After hours, switching keywords and conducting hundreds of searches, Suyuk found a few posts. Play button, conspiracy theory. Was there a traitor in Blue Eyes? I heard this from a friend, so it's not confirmed yet. But there seems to have been someone in Blue Eyes who teamed up with the demons. How many rumors like this had he seen? Surprisingly, it wasn't hard to find related information. In fact, they were more akin to fanciful stories rather than solid information. Unverified sources and mere hearsay. Due to its implausibility, it didn't gain much traction. However, the content aligned closely with what Jung Yuhan had said. Is there someone else with a big mouth like Jung Yuhan? Or, another possibility, someone wants this rumor to spread. Even though Jung Yuhan was a semi-ranker, Blue Zone had plenty of equally skilled members. If this information were highly classified, Jung Yuhan wouldn't have known about it. Moreover, a major guild like Blue Zone wouldn't handle crucial information so poorly. Click. Suyuk turned off the kit and stared up at the ceiling. He felt he had gleaned all he could from the small screen. No matter how much I look at this, it's pointless. Regardless of how many survivors there was nothing he could do about it right now. It was time to stop wallowing. He had to climb higher. Suyuk stood up. Inside the drapery shop, where carcasses of livestock hung like grim decorations, a man lay on the ground, blood dripping from his body, his eyes rolled back. In front of him stood Yerong. holding a thin knife in one hand, her expression grave. Is this real? The question was directed towards Shiwu, who was in the back. He shook his head while freezing the man's wounds, ensuring he wouldn't die immediately. I can't be sure. It doesn't seem like a lie, though. If he's lying after all this, he's not human. It had been hours of interrogation. No, to say interrogation was an understatement. It was essentially torture. Yerong was confident. If someone could lie after enduring so much, they were not to be found anywhere. The problem is whether what he knows is actually true. Could it be a trap? At this point, wouldn't that guy know we're alive? Yerong nodded at Shiwu's words. Certainly, considering the recent signs from the tournament on the third floor and how various players had been frequenting their base. There had been unusual signs lately. Kim Il-soo had caught wind of their presence. By now, he was almost certain of their survival. He might have laid the bait, expecting us to bite. Someone else could be alive. To Shiwu and Yerong, that was a bait with an irresistibly sweet scent. Even if they knew there might be a sharp skewer hidden within, they couldn't help but bite. That guy's mind back then and now. Yerong clicked her tongue in disgust. Even though they were comrades once, she never thought he would act like this. So, are we not going? Yerong sighed at Shiwu's question. It was an obvious question with an obvious answer. Of course. They had to check. Even if there was only a 1 in 1,000, 1 in a million chance. We have to confirm it. If someone was alive, they had decided to go, even if it was hell. Chapter 93. A certain office located on the 9th floor. Lee Won-jae arrived there, sitting in front of a large, wide screen. Despite his busy schedule, the reason he came here was because of the commotion that took place early this morning. Begin. At Lee Won-jae's single word and gesture, the people in the room sprang into action. Soon, the screen lit up. On the other side of it sat a person from a world too distant to reach this place. Facing Lee Won-jae, John Dale, the head of Balhee Entertainment's management division. Normally, they wouldn't have exchanged even a word. However, it's an honor to meet such a high official, even like this. Ironically, now Lee Won-jae had to cater to the man's mood. Thus, he put on a broad smile, something he rarely did, and spoke. No, the pleasure is mine. I've heard you're the top contributor to Balhee's success. Top contributor? I'm just a salaried worker doing my job. They checked each other's faces through the screen. Lee Won-jae glanced down briefly at the report on John Dale. An elite background. He's too good to be in such a small place. The report contained details about John Dale. It was the result of a thorough investigation by Blue Zone's intelligence overnight. He wasn't someone who succeeded as a player. However, the achievements of John Dale were far from insignificant. A former strategist of the Motto Guild until 15 years ago. A former core member of a major guild. Now reduced to a mere team leader at a small company. Balhee was a large company. But no matter how big the dinosaur, when viewed from the sky, it was all the same size. But John Dale was different. He was once a bird flying in the same sky as them. Though he failed as a player, he was a key member in running a guild. The statement that he was the top contributor to Balhee Entertainment was no empty compliment. I've heard a lot about you too, Vice Guildmaster. From long ago. That's embarrassing. You're the second most credited person after guild leader Kim Il-soo for bringing Blue Zone this far. A living legend. Lee Won-jae's eyebrows raised. The next most credited after Kim Il-soo. It sounded like praise but felt oddly grating to his ears. It felt like dragging the conversation would lead nowhere good. Lee Won-jae shifted the conversation's direction. This conversation is getting long. Shall we discuss yesterday's incident? John Dale nodded and corrected Lee Won-jae. Not just yesterday. It happened early this morning. The atmosphere changed instantly. I deeply regret the incident. Not just me, but I believe our streamer does too. Twitch. Lee Won-jae's brow furrowed. He had thought John Dale would come out more humbly, but his tone was quite confrontational. Should I try intimidating him? Lee Won-jae scrutinized John Dale in the short time he had. Not the type to be intimidated. A person's strength isn't solely judged by their physical prowess. Despite being on a screen, John Dale's demeanor suggested he was mentally strong. Trying to intimidate or threaten someone like him was foolish. It might escalate a manageable situation. We haven't yet made a public statement about the incident. Considering the opponent, we need to be cautious. Haha. Lee Wonji's smile carried a single meaning beneath its facade. Yet, John Dale subtly implied that they could reveal the incident's details anytime. It seems there's been a misunderstanding. Yes, I believe it's a misunderstanding too. But the fact that your player attacked our streamer is undeniable. Trailing off briefly, John Dale looked directly at Lee Wonji. If such an incident happens again, we will have no choice but to consider it intentional. And that meant, if you mess with our streamer again, we will expose everything. 15 minutes. John Dale thought the mere 15 minutes of this call felt like the longest 15 minutes of his life. When the video call ended with a perfunctory farewell, he finally exhaled the breath he had been holding back due to tension. Phew! Though he outwardly maintained a confident demeanor, it was natural for him to feel nervous. His opponent was Lee Wonji, the second in command of a major guild. A giant whom even the president of Balhi Entertainment, not just the team leader, would defer to. Great job. Ah, right. Wow, it's a relief we talked via video. If we had met in person, I would have suffocated to death. Gulp. John Dale downed the water handed to him by an employee in one go. Only when his thirst was quenched did he begin to regain some composure. Still, you were amazing. You're probably the only one in our company who can speak to Lee Wonji that way. Of course I had to. Do they think they can act like gangsters? How dare they mess with our streamer? Despite many years at Balhi with countless events, this was a first for him. A major guild risking its reputation to directly target a streamer was unheard of. They must have been aware of the risks of failure. Was the allure of the lightning that strong? It made sense. Blue Zone was nearly synonymous with Lee Suyuk's successor. His legacy's symbolic power was so notable that it was the reason for Blue Zone's current status. Why else would they obsess over Thunder Cave? It was all about acquiring the lightning skill that symbolized Lee Suyuk. But they must covet it, all of it. Name, talent, and the symbolic power of the lightning. Lee Suyuk was a spitting image of the past Lee Suyuk, to the point where people might believe he was his reincarnation. He even wore the same mask while streaming. Of course, the mask was more of a stream gimmick. Still, things should be quiet for now. No matter how large, even the major guilds couldn't override public opinion. Many other major guilds existed alongside Blue Zone. They would have to tread carefully. If Balhi decided to turn this into a major issue and attack Blue Zone, it would cause trouble for the rest as well. However, only for now. The silence wouldn't last forever. The more valuable Lee Suyuk became, the more attention he would attract. The sweeter the fruit, the more insects it would draw. Today's stream is cancelled, right? John Dale asked, and an employee replied. Yes, it seems he's quite shaken. Understandable. After going through that, it's only natural to be shocked. Real and trial fights were starkly different. While fundamentally similar, real conflicts equated directly to life and death. How one handles that terror often separates top players from the rest, yet the aftermath of a first real battle affects everyone. Tell him to get plenty of rest. If he can overcome this, he'll become an even greater team leader. Yes? What is it? He said he's starting the stream. Lee Suyuk. John Dale's eyes widened, interrupting his speech. What? And at that moment, Lee Suyuk has started streaming. Lee Suyuk's stream went live. It was a late afternoon. Lee Suyuk has started streaming. An unexpected notification. Viewers flocked in with the feeling of receiving an unexpected gift. Wasn't today a break? Take off your pants. Though there was no sound, it felt deafening even to his ears. Once a sufficient number of viewers had gathered, Suyuk turned on the microphone. Sorry, I'm a bit late.
It's okay. It's okay.
Did something happen? It's fine since you're here. It's hard to go into detail. For those feeling frustrated, I'll give a hint. It's related to this morning's stream. Got it.
As expected. 아우.
Can't blame you. He had announced through a stream that he was attacked on his way back. Fortunately, given the seriousness of the situation, the viewers weren't being too inquisitive. Some were nosy enough to dig for details, but that was quickly quelled. Are you up for today's challenge? As an expected question came in, Suyuk nodded. Yes, I'll be heading there today. Not much time left. But if you win without losing a match, it should be possible. Though it looked tough from what I saw last night, the difficulty of the matches goes up as the score increases. It's a given, but in Suyuk's case, it was a bit more pronounced. While he could gain 40 points per match, the difficulty seemed to double accordingly. The match is starting. Flash dash. The atmosphere changed and the scene of the arena came into view. It was a familiar feeling now. A winding path, with cliffs on both sides and abandoned, moldy houses scattered around. The box was so large it required both arms to hold it tightly. The main task of the match was for one person to carry this box while the others protected it. What's this? A bug. Oh, Lee Suyuk? Now, these reactions were quite familiar. One person recognized Suyuk and widened their eyes. Interacting felt like it would unnecessarily prolong the conversation. There wasn't time for chatting. Today's focus was on advancing to the next floor rather than the stream's progress. Clench dash. Suyuk grabbed the box without a word. Hey, wait. Shouldn't we decide on our positions before moving dash? At that moment, crackle dash. Electricity sparked from Suyuk's feet. Boom dash. Before anyone realized it, Suyuk had already distanced himself from the rest of his team. He explosively accelerated, sprinting straight towards the destination where the box had to be delivered. What is that? Already here? The opposing team spotted Suyuk and couldn't believe their eyes. Not even 30 seconds had passed since the match began. Yet, Suyuk had already reached halfway to the goal, near the opposing team's starting point. The distance between them quickly narrowed. There was no time for overthinking. Block him. Grab the box first. He seems confident in his speed, but what can he do holding the box alone? Thunk dash. At that moment, Suyuk threw the box he was holding into the air. His hands were briefly free. Then, flash dash. With a yellow flash, Suyuk's sword sliced through the throats of 4 opposing players. Indeed. Thunk dash. The box he had thrown into the air landed back in Suyuk's hands. Turning back towards the goal, Suyuk responded to the words he couldn't hear from his opponents. I'm more confident than you think. Much more. Chapter 94. Half a day. The time it took for Suyuk to achieve Challenger and ascend to the next floor. You have achieved Challenger rank. Strength increases by 2. Agility increases by 2. Focus increases by 3. Stamina increases by 2. Magic increases by 1. You have completed the trial of the 5th floor. All stats increase by 2. A total of 20 stat points. It felt like his limits had been raised significantly. There was no other place where one could gain such a high number of stat points in an instant. A trial dedicated to securing stats. He thought that if Jung Yuhan had come a day later, the fight would have been much easier.
클리어드 인 3데이즈. Amazing.
He's insanely fast. Safety first LOL. The mission was completed. Originally a long-term mission that was supposed to be completed within a month. Suyuk shortened the time to 1/10. There were 2 reasons it was possible. The first was that Suyuk's matches ended very quickly. And the second was that he gained an excessively high number of points in each match due to the difference in rank. Mission completed. You have received 20,000 points from Mission Villain. Mission completed. You have received 20,000 points from A Lovely Suyuk. Mission completed. You have received 10,000 points from Never Give Up. A. Mission completed. You have received 100,000 points from Safe Asset. A string of mission completion notifications appeared. Seeing the accumulated amount, even Suyuk, who wasn't easily surprised, was taken aback by the sum. The 100,000 points in the last notification stood out the most. How much is all this? Just as he was mentally calculating, you are moving to the 5th floor. Along with the message, his body was enveloped in light once again. We're dash. His vision flickered, and the scenery around him changed. For a moment, he felt his body float and disappear, and then reappear as his sight returned. Colors filled the surroundings, and he stepped into another world. Low-rise buildings. The streets were lined with stalls selling herbs, spices, and silk, with warriors wielding swords roaming around. The delectable sense of dumplings and sweets made his stomach growl almost instantly. A familiar sight. Suyuk remembered spending quite a long time here, but now it felt like walking into the jaws of a giant monster. I've made it this far. The 5th floor. Many people referred to this world as Murim, Wulin. The stream ended early. Originally, there was no plan to stream today. Yet, Suyuk started the stream out of sheer impatience. His eyelids felt heavy. Feeling more fatigued than ever, Suyuk trudged along with heavy steps. Maybe I overdid it. He had used quite a lot of lightning during the fight with Jung Yuhan. Even with selfish sacrifice and the heart of lightning, using so much lightning in reality took its toll. His fatigue was high, and his muscles were screaming for a rest. To be ready for tomorrow's stream, he needed to rest now. Thunk. After walking for a while, he arrived at the location transmitted by Balhi through the kit, a grand guesthouse with a tiled roof. Named Nebula in Xingyun Kerjan, it was the most expensive guesthouse in the vicinity, and in front of it, "Good evening. I'm Cheon Riang, your manager for the day, Lee Suyuknim." It wasn't Unhyang waiting for him, but someone else. My manager? Yes, Unhyang will probably arrive tomorrow. It takes some time to get here. Unless it was through completing a trial, moving between floors took a considerable amount of time. It seemed they sent another manager to bridge the time gap. Let's get inside first. Or would you like to eat first? Now that he mentioned it, he was hungry. He had skipped breakfast and had used a lot of concentration taking the trials. All right. Is there any food you prefer? If not, I can recommend something since I'm from around here. Sounds good. Being a player from the Murim realm wasn't particularly surprising. His appearance, accent, and clothing made it clear. Come to think of it, so is Unhyang. He vaguely recalled hearing about it. She had started working as a manager following a friend who was in Balhi. Cheon Riang guided Suyuk to the restaurant on the 1st floor of the guesthouse. The dishes he ordered were mainly fish and soup. After placing the order, Cheon Riang turned to Suyuk. The fish dishes here are extraordinary. You'll be amazed when you taste them. I'm looking forward to it. By the way, I should mention that I'm a big fan of your streams, Lee Suyuknim. I've been following since day one with Unhyang. Unhyang might not be particularly quiet, but Cheon Riang was exceptionally talkative. As Suyuk blew on his tea, he found himself listening to Cheon Riang's work stories. Fortunately, he's an interesting person. It turned out Cheon Riang's stories were quite amusing. Not only because the topic was about the streaming industry, which Suyuk found intriguing, but also because Cheon Riang had a natural knack for storytelling. While waiting for the meal, Cheon Riang chatted away, and Suyuk chimed in occasionally. Then suddenly, come to think of it, the situation itself felt unfamiliar to Suyuk. This is probably the 3rd time I've had such a long conversation with someone. The first time was with Unhyang. The second was with Schneider. But with Schneider, it was purely a conversation driven by mutual interests. In a personal context, Unhyang was really the only one he had shared such a conversation with. Suyuk looked at Cheon Riang's face. In that instant, a certain wicked thought crossed Suyuk's mind. Soon the food was served. Clink. As he picked up his chopsticks, Suyuk asked his first question. You said you're friends with the other manager? Unhyang? Yeah, we're friends. Cheon Riang nodded, his gaze fixed on the steaming fish stew. Since when? How long has it been now? We've been sticking together like glue since we were this high. Back then, she was taller than me. Their relationship went back a lot further than Suyuk had expected. The height Cheon Riang indicated with his hand was that of a very small child. Well, she did say she was a fan of mine 20 years ago. It made sense that she was older than she appeared. Exceptional players no longer aged, making it meaningless to guess their age by their appearance. But that wasn't what Suyuk was curious about. What kind of? Hesitating for a moment, Suyuk continued. What kind of person was she?
Un yang?
Cheon Riang's expression subtly changed. He seemed hesitant to answer. Eventually, he set down his chopsticks and asked, "Why do you ask?" "She saved me yesterday." Suyuk recounted how An Hyang had taken down Jung Yuhan with a single move. She's definitely not an ordinary person. Not by a long shot. An Hyang's prowess was anything but ordinary. If she started as a ranker, it would certainly cause a stir. And there was another thing. With her looks and skills, she could have been a successful streamer herself, don't you think? An Hyang was very pretty. Exceptionally so. Even just being beautiful could guarantee a successful stream. With An Hyang's level of skill, it wouldn't be surprising if she quickly amassed tens of thousands of subscribers. Both An Hyang and Balhi Entertainment must know this. Understanding Suyuk's point, Cheon Riang chuckled. That's a streamer's perspective. I am a streamer, after all. Is that so? From my point of view, it seems like you've just dipped a toe in the water. This time, it was Suyuk's turn to pause with his chopsticks. Your heart is always elsewhere, isn't it? The comment hit home. To Suyuk, being a streamer was a tool for revenge. It was like a whetstone to sharpen his blade. Cheon Riang's remark about him just dipping a toe in the water, though blunt, wasn't entirely wrong. He's perceptive, just like John Dale. More insightful than he had expected. Though he had a witty demeanor, Cheon Riang was far from lightweight. Cheon Riang seemed to deliberate. If that's the reason, by the time the steam was starting to fade from the food, no, it's all right. Just as Cheon Riang began to speak, Suyuk stopped him. It's better to hear it from her directly. Seeing you hesitate makes it even clearer that I should. To understand what kind of person An Hyang was, and why she insisted on being a manager despite her skills. Being curious but hearing it from someone else's mouth rather than directly from the person herself was indeed discourteous. If she chose not to speak, waiting until she was ready was the right thing to do. And Suyuk's words brought a smile to Cheon Riang's face. Hee. I wasn't planning to tell you anyway. Cheon Riang resumed eating with his chopsticks. It won't take long either way. What do you mean? You'll hear it directly. Or you'll find out. While the part about hearing it directly made sense, the part about finding out was vague. Cheon Riang's words were unclear and somewhat ambiguous. It seemed like Cheon Riang had no intention of continuing the same topic, as he shifted the conversation while munching on the fish dish. By the way, the lower floors are quite noisy right now because of that. The clearing got trashed in yesterday's fight. The confrontation between Suyuk and Jung Yuhan had left the clearing in ruins. Jung Yuhan's skill blocked sound and presence, but not the aftermath of the battle. That's for them to handle. Should we be worried about it? Suyuk didn't see it as a big deal. Even if this incident got out, it would harm Blue Zone more than him. In fact, it might even tarnish Blue Zone's image, which wouldn't be a bad thing for him. Of course, there was no way this incident would leak. Fights between players happen often. Even if it gets out, they'll make sure to cover it up. The events on the fourth floor were no longer his concern. John Dale had concluded negotiations, and his job now was to keep moving upwards. Seeing Suyuk's reaction, Cheon Riang didn't bring up the matter again. There was no point dwelling on something the streamer wasn't concerned about. There was something else to discuss. Cheon Riang asked, "Do you have any content in mind for this time?" Content. It was the biggest concern for streamers. Repeating the same stream wouldn't satisfy the viewers. While high-ranking players had some leeway on the fifth floor, something distinctive was necessary. However, Suyuk had no intention of wasting time on content. I don't have anything special in mind. But, so, with Suyuk feeling pressed for time, there was only one type of content he could consider. How about marathon? Chapter 95. On the outskirts of the city on the 6th floor, there was a wide open space. In that place, the number of Blue Zone players that started gathering one by one had soon exceeded 100. Among them, Cha Minwo's face was full of discontent. Why the hell is there so much work? Just recently he had descended to the 3rd floor, and now something else had come up on the 6th floor. While they were already short on time to focus on climbing the tower, the guild kept assigning them tasks. Moreover, based on such baseless rumors too, this particular task displeased him more than any other. The guild must have verified it to some extent before calling us. Next to Cha Minwo, as usual, was Weyoung. Unlike Cha Minwo, she was quite attentive to rumors. Cha Minwo's brow furrowed at Weyoung's words. Does that even make sense? Why wouldn't it? It's one thing that there might be survivors in Blue Eyes. But teaming up with demons, what's that about? This rumor had two shocking elements. The first was that there might be survivors in Blue Eyes. The second was that these survivors might have allied with demons. What's the reason for joining hands with demons? For power. Exactly. That's why it doesn't make any sense. Huh. Cha Minwo spoke passionately, half angry. Who were the members of Blue Eyes? Each one of them was as skilled as our guild leader. Not to mention Lee Suyuk. They must have needed greater power. What reason would they have for that? Not everyone has a reason. Cha Minwo couldn't refute Weyoung's answer. That was true. Just as not every player climbed the tower for a reason, not every player sought power for a noble cause. And that was no different for the members of Blue Eyes. More importantly, there's no way the Vice Guild leader would come all the way here for something unverified. Right? True. At those words, Cha Minwo nodded, thinking of the man who would soon make an appearance here. From the 9th floor to the 6th floor, Lee Wonjae, the Vice Guild leader of Blue Zone, was descending. A giant of his stature wouldn't move without reason. Especially considering the number of players ordered to gather here had well exceeded 100. If it turns out to be true, the demons, if it was confirmed that they had allied with demons, there was only one course of action, no matter how formidable Blue Eyes was. They must be dealt with. Absolutely. Saying that, Cha Minwo looked around. Perhaps, they had come here to fight against Blue Eyes. A long day of rest. It was time to recover his condition. Once the tension eased, every muscle in his body cried out. The aftereffects of using lightning were not insignificant. If I had used the Lightning Lord too, I would have been bedridden for several more days. In the morning, looking out the window, Suyuk slowly stretched his body. The visible fatigue level had significantly decreased. His physical condition, as he felt directly, wasn't bad either. The day of complete rest had paid off. When he went down to the 1st floor for a meal, a familiar face was waiting for him. Are you awake? Yang. She was having a meal with Cheon Riang. Would you like to join us? We ordered a lot. Cheon Riang's invitation was sincere. There was indeed a lot of food. Simple menu items like bread, eggs, and bacon, but enough for 4 or 5 people. With no reason to refuse, Suyuk sat down, and Cheon Riang shrugged his shoulders. We are eating on the company's money. It seems she had predicted what Suyuk might be thinking. Cheon Riang's words were an explanation for why they had ordered so much. As they gathered for the meal and started eating, An Hyang asked when they were somewhat full. Are you really going to do it? She added a subject that followed. Marathon. Marathon. An idiom meaning to complete something from start to finish once you've begun. In the context of the trial, it meant a content where the stream wouldn't end until he completed the trial on that floor. Once you declare it in the stream, it's hard to back out. If you break a promise once, the viewers will start doubting the streamer. I understand. Are you really okay with it? Knowing how long the trial might take. It wasn't that she didn't trust Suyuk. He had the incredible record of passing the 4th floor trial in just 3 days. Undoubtedly, he would achieve results faster and more surely than the average players. But even so, the marathon content was no easy task. Premature challenges often led to ruining one's condition and the stream's longevity, or end up breaking promises to the viewers. Moreover, we don't even know what kind of trial is waiting. The trial of the 5th floor was different from the 4th. Since not all players took the same trial, there was no way to know what trial awaited until it began. Anyway, I won't be starting immediately, so it's fine. What? Hyang widened her eyes in surprise at Suyuk's answer. Although he seemed like he had to move to the next floor immediately, he now said he wouldn't start right away. I have someone to meet first. A friend. Until now, Hyang had never seen Suyuk meet anyone. He hadn't even mentioned any family or friends. So it was surprising to hear he was meeting someone. Not a friend exactly. Suyuk paused, contemplating how to describe the relationship, before answering. An old man. A small village located in a secluded corner of Murim. Even within that village, Suyuk set foot in an abandoned house located quite a distance away. This old man's taste hasn't changed. It was an old, dilapidated house that looked like it could collapse at any moment. Suyuk spoke toward the precarious door that seemed ready to fall with a single gust of wind. Anybody home? There was no answer. He called out several more times, but again, there was no response. As he tentatively reached out and pushed the door, it creaked loudly and swung open. For a moment, Suyuk stood there, contemplating. What should he do? Why aren't you coming in? It was then that a cranky voice came from nearby. The owner of the voice seemed close, but he couldn't see them. Of course. Entering without permission means I can't return, right? Everything visible in front of him was fake. The old, crumbling, abandoned house. It was all the work of the man who had just spoken. You don't seem to be just anybody. Could you open the door? Suyuk took a respectful stance. He was a guest and had come to make a request. Now was the time to match the mood of his host. After a short moment, the inside of the dilapidated door shook. The formation partially dissolved, creating a path. I'll at least see your face. Komein. Thank you. Suyuk bowed his head and entered through the door. Thankfully, the cranky old man seemed curious. He had worried about being turned away. Well, if that had happened, there wasn't much I could do. He didn't have the strength to force his way through this door. Not just now, but even his former self wouldn't have found it easy. Contrary to its appearance, this place was like a massive fortress. Without the owner's permission, one could never enter carelessly. Just setting foot here meant he was halfway to success. Thud dash. Upon entering, Suyuk felt the air change around him. Like entering an examination site, his senses altered, and the surroundings transformed. The crumbling house vanished without a trace, revealing a spacious estate. Various vividly colored plants exuded a sharp, pungent aroma. And at the center of the estate, a large man stood in a fluttering robe, his wrinkled face stern. How did you find this place? Suyuk couldn't answer immediately. This was the place he intended to visit first upon reaching the 5th floor. He needed it, but he also had hoped to meet him again. Although the man wouldn't recognize him. You haven't changed. Suyuk could recognize him so they could rebuild their relationship. Are you not going to answer? When Suyuk delayed his response, the man pressed him for a reply. Knowing the man's impatient nature, Suyuk hurried to speak. I heard a rumor. A rumor? Yes, that a very extraordinary person lives here. It wasn't a particularly satisfying answer to alleviate curiosity, but there wasn't much else he could say. Few knew the man's presence here, and most of those that did were either not beneficial to mention or weren't credible. Fortunately, Suyuk knew this man wasn't someone who cared much for reasons. So you must also know what kind of person I am. I do. And that I don't meet just anyone. Yes. Suyuk also found it puzzling. As the man said, he wasn't someone who would meet just anyone. The man Suyuk knew had exacting standards, barely permitting a conversation. It was almost a fluke that Suyuk had met him years ago. I didn't have high expectations, but he had come with a sliver of hope. Who knew it would be this easy to get the door open? What words should he start with? Looking at the man standing before him, Suyuk finally pretended not to recognize him and spoke. I would like to request a task from you, sir. Asterisk. 25 years ago, Suyuk had been wounded in a fight against the demons, his body covered in blackened bloodstains from severe burns. It was by far the worst injury he had ever suffered. He was separated from his comrades, with no one to support him. At that moment, he thought he might die soon. It's a wonder you're not dead. A mysterious man appeared before Suyuk. In one hand, he held a brush, and he wore a fluttering robe. His vision was blurred, so he couldn't see the man's face clearly. As he slowly lifted his head, he felt the man's gaze observing him as if studying him. Let's see. The wounds should be bearable. Burns? That's peculiar. Did you inflict them on yourself? The man instantly assessed Suyuk's condition. He knew that Suyuk had harmed himself using lightning. He knew he was half dead. Who are you, sir? Sir. The man chuckled at Suyuk's address. He seemed like a strange person, but Suyuk had no one else to rely on at that moment. Suyuk reached out his hand. Are you asking for help? Humph. Despite the somewhat reluctant tone, the man immediately grasped Suyuk's extended hand. Supporting his body and examining his wounds, the man spoke. If I'm going to help, I might as well do it properly. With those words, Suyuk's consciousness slowly faded. So, you helped me too. That was how it all began. The first meeting between Suyuk and the man. Chapter 96. Thud. Thud. Following behind the man, Suyuk was engulfed in a peculiar feeling. This vast estate they were walking through, and the man in front of him, it was hard to believe that they were events from over 20 years ago. Nothing has changed. The estate remained the same. It was still immaculate, with no sign of human presence. How does he manage the cleaning all by himself? Do you know me? The man asked as he led the way, his back turned. Though the man couldn't see it, Suyuk nodded. Ido. Have we met before? Suyuk hesitated. Should he say it? That he was actually Lee Suyuk. That even though he had changed and it had been a long time, he was the same person from back then. He opened his mouth slightly, then closed it. It would be fortunate if he believed it. More likely, he wouldn't believe it. He might even end up hating him, thinking he was a fraud impersonating Lee Suyuk. No, this is the first time. Is that so? Yet you seem to know me well. There's something strangely familiar about you. Saying so, the man glanced back at Suyuk. A sharp pang struck his chest. The situation made it hard to keep pretending he was a complete stranger. So Suyuk answered, mixing in some half-truths. I did come knowing about you. How so? You were quite famous, weren't you? Not anymore, though. It wasn't a lie. Many might have forgotten him now, but decades ago, almost everyone knew him. Suyuk included. The man who saved him turned out to be this person. Jin Woonajusi. Myoji Jin Woon. He was a formidable martial artist and formation expert from Murim. After adopting new methodologies from the tower, he combined Murim's formations with Panthera's magic and then mysteriously disappeared. A giant who retired from Murim. That was the true identity of the cranky old man standing before Suyuk. Indeed, I was famous. Long ago. His tone suggested he still had questions. He stopped in front of a room that appeared to be their destination. You're here for work? Yes. I wish to have a piece of art inscribed. It's not just a painting done with a brush, I presume. Screech. Jin Woon gestured toward the door, and it opened like an automatic door. So, you came for a procedure. In the middle of the room, 2 cups of tea were set out, as if prepared for a conversation. The tea was still warm, indicating it had been set out recently, perhaps in anticipation of such a scenario. Have a seat. My legs are tired. Yes. Suyuk sat down as instructed and immediately picked up the teacup. The tea was just the right temperature, warm but not uncomfortably hot. After taking a sip, Jinwon spoke. I don't perform procedures on those whose faces I do not know. He continued without touching the tea he had prepared. That was the case with Lee Suyuk as well. The name made Suyuk's hand pause mid-drink. Jinwon had mentioned his name. Was it intentional? Hiding his face behind the mask, Suyuk looked at Jinwon. As always, it was hard to read any intentions from his expression or eyes. A face. Indeed, Jinwon was one of the few who knew his face. He was someone Suyuk trusted deeply and had received significant help from. If it weren't for him, Suyuk might not have survived his previous life. Whatever you may have heard, if you truly wish to receive my work. Swoosh. Jinwon's words trailed off. Suyuk's mask slipped off, revealing his clear, defined features framed by his black eyes. Chun Jinwon's pupils slightly quivered. It seemed he hadn't expected this. You're showing your face more easily than I anticipated. It's not such a grand face to hide. It had been a long time since he had shown his face to anyone. Actually, this was the first time in this life. There wasn't any significant reason to keep his face hidden. It was partly because he was used to this lifestyle and partly to maintain an air of mystery for his stream persona. But justifying hiding his face was negligent in front of someone like Chun Jinwon, who was too important. Naturally, after confirming Suyuk's face, Jinwon seemed slightly disappointed. You don't resemble him at all. Pardon. Just the same name then. TSK. Tisk. Clicking his tongue irritably, Jinwon muttered, and Suyuk fell into deep thought. A name. He recognized the name Lee Suyuk. It wasn't just because of the mask. In this era, plenty of people donned the mask and cosplayed as Lee Suyuk. However, Jinwon recognized him because he had watched his streams. A warm feeling enveloped Suyuk. Jinwon might have been disappointed, but Suyuk felt a sense of joy. The fact that Jinwon missed him was a deeply welcome revelation. For the first time in a while, Suyuk smiled without the mask. Even though he tried to suppress it, a slight smile crept up, causing Jinwon to frown. What's so funny? Did I smile? Suyuk tried to lower the smile that was hard to control and asked. It seems you're looking for someone in me. Looking for whom? What are you speaking of? Just a moment ago, you said I didn't resemble him at all. Just talking to myself. Jinwon tried to dismiss it with a wave of his hand, but Suyuk remained unwavering. Eventually, glancing around as if hesitant, Jinwon resigned and opened up. Fine. It's about Lee Suyuk. Yes. No, not you. The one you're impersonating. Since you wear the same mask, I thought your personality might be the same, but the face is entirely different. Indeed, the faces of Suyuk's past and present lives were vastly different. In his previous life, he had a rather sharp appearance. Now, aside from his gaze, he had a softer countenance. Why are you looking for that Lee Suyuk? Had a close relationship, but, as you know, he suddenly up and died. Damn fool. The words almost slipped out of Suyuk's mouth in response to the grumbling. Do you miss him a lot? Not alive nor dead, but still here. I have returned. Miss him? In response to Suyuk's question, Jinwon uttered words he would never have said if the real Suyuk were in front of him. If I didn't miss him, I wouldn't have bothered to make you take off your mask. Is that so? Suyuk, who had just managed to suppress his rising smile, finally broke into a bright grin. That makes me happy. Asterisk. Following Jinwon, they arrived at a large pavilion. This place, inhabited solely by Jinwon, was expansive enough to accommodate an entire mid-sized guild. As they reached the pavilion, Jinwon glanced at Suyuk and spoke. Don't touch anything. Click. Jinwon grabbed the door handle and pulled. Instantly, the same sharp scent that had hit Suyuk when he first entered the estate assaulted his nose. The scent was so strong that anyone with a weak stomach might have retched immediately. Casually glancing around the interior, Suyuk inwardly marveled. He's added more since then. He hadn't expected everything to be unchanged. With the overall level of players having risen, it stood to reason that Jinwon hadn't remained idle over the past 20 years. The pavilion was Jinwon's workshop. The workshop was filled with plants and liquids that reeked strongly, along with unique materials and tools like sharp awls and brushes. You might not know this, but my procedures are quite expensive. At Jinwon's blunt statement, Suyuk nodded. Quite expensive was an understatement. But considering the effect of the procedures, it couldn't be said to be overly costly. How much are you prepared to spend? As much as needed. As much as needed, you say? Jinwon appraised Suyuk up and down at his answer. Then we must first find out how much you can handle. Take off your top and sit down. I'll examine you. Complying with Jinwon's instruction, Suyuk stripped and took a seat. Jinwon moved behind him and placed a hand on Suyuk's back. The canvas isn't bad. For someone who just reached the 5th floor, Jinwon referred to a player's body as a canvas. His procedures usually involved intricate formations or drawings on a player's back, similar to traditional formations. Slowly inspecting Suyuk's body, Jinwon murmured in a low voice, "Impressive." He seemed genuinely surprised. Given his usual stinginess with praise, the statement was significant. Suyuk's body was in exceptional condition, far beyond what one would expect for a 5th-floor player. How much can you handle? There are many kinds of procedures. The method and cost will depend on what you want. What I need is stamina. An answer he had prepared in advance. I need the stamina to endure lightning. That had always been an enduring challenge for Suyuk, both then and now. Lightning, a skill with immense power that placed a significant burden on the user's body. Using it in the battle against Jung Yuhan had forced Suyuk to take a day to recover his fatigue. Never mind the Lightning Lord. Despite having gained several dozen stat points since then, reaching that level was still out of reach. While I've improved a lot, it's still not enough. He knew it was greed. In reality, much had already been improved to a surprising extent. Thanks to the Heart of Lightning, he had gained complete immunity to electrocution, and his resistance had significantly increased. The skill level of Selfish Sacrifice was showing more remarkable performance with each increment. Yet, he needed to push his greed further. So far, he had overcome the penalties of lightning by doing things he hadn't done in his past life. Now, it was time to incorporate what he had done in his past life as well. After all, Suyuk had once managed to overcome half of lightning's drawbacks. You desire what even we couldn't achieve. Suyuk and Jinwon had long strived together to overcome lightning. Suyuk trained relentlessly to build stamina and continuously leveled up while climbing the tower. Jinwon researched procedures to enhance Suyuk's physique, constantly advancing his studies. Yet, as if mocking their efforts, lightning became increasingly powerful, placing heavier burdens on Suyuk's body. Do you know that lightning is what killed that man? He was certain of it. In his previous life, Suyuk was killed by nothing other than lightning. That wasn't incorrect. If Suyuk had overcome lightning, he would have survived, killing Kim Il-soo and all the enemies present at that place. I suspected as much. Knowing this, you still intend to take on the challenge? Yes. Nodding without hesitation, Suyuk revealed his intentions plainly. Even if the outcome is the same, I won't regret it. Is that so? Jinwon burst into laughter, finding Suyuk's answer amusing. He felt a strange exhilaration. The problem that had ended in failure felt like a returning opportunity. Jinwon made his decision. In that case, I can help you. He decided to accept the young man standing before him as a guest. Chapter 97. Swish, swish. Suyuk began putting his clothes back on. The state of his body had been thoroughly checked. By now, Jinwon probably had a design in mind for the procedure. But now there was one problem. The issue is the cost, isn't it? It was the expensive fee. Given how good your canvas is, it's going to be quite pricey. How much do you estimate? At the maximum, it could go up to 1 million, maybe even more. 1 million? Suyuk's eyes widened. The cost was higher than he had anticipated. While that suggested the effectiveness would be tremendous, it was impossible to come up with that many points immediately. Even for his past self, that wouldn't have been a small amount. Though back then, he could have considered it a worthwhile investment by closing his eyes and bearing the expense. Suyuk checked the points he had. 230016. 230,000 points. He had gathered a substantial amount quickly, thanks to the missions from the recent fourth floor trial. Though revenue from the player's channel video would soon come in, it's still not enough. Seeing Suyuk's troubled expression, Jinwon asked, "What's the matter? Are you short on points?" "Yes. I figured that would be the case. How much do you have?" 230,000. Considering the trial fees, I have around 220,000 available. Is that so? Jinwon scratched his chin, deep in thought. After a moment, "Normally, I don't do this, but," as if making a decision, Jinwon spoke. "I can accept payments in installments. Asterisk. Available points, 30016. The sight of points dropping all at once made Suyuk sigh. 20,000 points vanished in an instant. Gathering them had been arduous, but spending them took mere seconds. Points just keep disappearing. Raising the skill level of selfish sacrifice required 32,000 points. Additionally, more points would be needed to receive Jinwon's procedures properly. No matter how much he earned, it seemed to leak away. Now that he had learned once, it was time to replenish the points. "I didn't know it would be such an expensive skill." Crackle. As sparks danced at his fingertips, Suyuk muttered, almost amused. Come to think of it, that was the same back then too. It wasn't just selfish sacrifice. Reflecting, everything from Jinwon's procedures to holy swords and items with various stamina options had all been point-consuming. Of course, the cost was justified by the effect, which was always substantial, often exceeding expectations. "Do you know that lightning is what killed that man?" Jinwon had been right. Increasing the skill level of selfish sacrifice, receiving Jinwon's procedure, earning points through streaming, it was all interconnected with facing the challenge of lightning. It was all a desperate struggle to master the lightning skill. Crackle. As sparks danced at his fingertips, Suyuk glared at the lightning as if it were his mortal enemy. "Let's see who wins this time." Thud. It was then that Jinwon returned. "Are you bored? You're doing strange things by yourself." In his hand, Jinwon held a long needle and a flask filled with an inky black liquid. He proudly displayed the items in his hands. "You probably don't know, but this is all the rage among young people these days. Strange drawings they engrave onto their bodies." Jinwon's procedure involved directly inscribing formations onto players' bodies. Like tattoos, these formations engraved deep into the flesh endowed players with mystical attributes based on their design and materials. That was the essence of Jinwon's procedure. It's called a tattoo. Tattoo. Yes, it's an art of engraving pictures on the body. Jinwon made a puzzled face, seemingly unfamiliar with the term. "Is that some kind of procedure too?" "No, it's just for style, like clothes or accessories." "Really? Engraving formations on the body is for style? I can't understand today's young people's taste." For some reason, Jinwon didn't particularly like tattoos. He claimed they were aesthetically displeasing, although his procedures bore a resemblance to tattoos. Of course, the procedure's markings were mostly on the back, allowing them to be covered easily. Still grumbling in annoyance, Jinwon positioned himself behind Suyuk and asked, "Are you like them too?" "Excuse me, are you also getting this for style?" Suyuk chuckled at Jinwon's question. It was a joke. They had already discussed the necessity of the procedure. As always, Jinwon's jokes were never funny, so he would match the joke at the same level. "Yes, so please make it as pretty as possible." Jinwon grinned at Suyuk's response. "All right." And then, poke. The sharp sensation of the needle piercing his back made Suyuk's eyes widen. "I'll make it pretty, just as you asked." Asterisk. It had been 2 days since Suyuk left the lodging. Took longer than expected. An Hyang, having ordered a ton of coffee and desserts on the company's dime since morning, kept glancing at the door. "He's not back yet." "Indeed." Munch. A hand reached for another piece of candy. An Hyang's eyes narrowed. "Why? Is there a problem? Why are you still here?" With an annoying expression and tone, Cheon Riang answered while stealing more of Hyang's snacks. Because if I stay here, I can eat the company's treats as much as I want. Aren't you going back to work? Nope, no word to return yet. Hey, let's order another one of these. They're tasty. Hyang's expression twisted at Cheon Riang's nonchalant response. However, Cheon Riang went ahead and ordered more snacks like candies and mooncakes, acting as if she had no cares in the world. In the past, Hyang might have smacked her on the back and told her to head back quickly. But because it was her request that had brought Cheon Riang to this place she hated, she had to tolerate it. Delicious, maybe because it's free. Ignoring Cheon Riang's annoying delight in the new mooncake, Hyang turned her attention back to the door. It seems like the hiatus is managed. But, thankfully, despite the sudden break, the reaction from the viewers wasn't too loud. Having recently streamed Jung Yuhan's Ambush, and considering the nature of Suyuk's skill-focused streaming, daily streams weren't mandatory. However, Suyuk's unexplained absence was concerning. I hope nothing's wrong. It had been 2 days already. Moreover, there was no reply to the messages sent through the kit. What could possibly prevent someone from checking the kit for 2 full days? Even though John Dale said the issue with Blue Zone had been resolved, she couldn't be sure. Maybe Blue Zone had made another move on Suyuk. Creak. The door opened just then. The smoothly oiled sliding door opened, and Hyang immediately stood up. She hoped it was Suyuk. However, what? Cheon Riang, who was reaching for another snack, froze. Unexpected guests, players from Murim, wearing swords at their waists, stepped in. 4 men and 1 woman. Among them, the woman leading the group caught Hyang and Cheon Riang's attention the most. She was cloaked in black cloth up to her chin and wore a form-fitting white robe. Moi. Hyang murmured her name, glancing over the men accompanying her. 5 of them. They looked skilled, but that was it. They weren't a significant threat. By assessing the opponents, Hyang could gauge their purpose. Without standing up, she glanced at Mui, who had approached. How have you been? Mui greeted her with a respectful bow. Hyang gestured towards the men standing behind Mui with a nod. Who are they? Don't mind them. They're just for show. Yeah, they look like it. One of the men flinched at the dismissive comment. See? They react immediately. They're still inexperienced. Are they Mui's trainees? You'll need to train them well. Thank you for the advice. The respectful tone from Mui caused visible discomfort among the men behind her. Mui then turned her attention to Cheon Riang. Have you been well, senior brother? Senior brother? That's ancient history. You'll always be my senior brother. You're not my junior anymore. So, just go back. Cheon Riang's response was firm. However, from the start, Mui's business was with Hyang. She took a step closer to Hyang and asked, Will you come with us? If you take one more step. Hyang gripped a pair of chopsticks in her hand. You know what happens, right? Mui stopped advancing further towards Hyang. Her face held a smile, but an air of lethal intent emanated from her. The chopsticks in her hand might have been a simple utensil, but with Hyang wielding them, the situation was different. The allowed distance was exactly up to this point. Still, it didn't matter. She wasn't there to exert force. As long as they could talk, it sufficed. I was told to deliver a message. There was no need to ask who sent the message. Mui served only one person, and if they were looking for Hyang, the identity was all too clear. He says he won't wait long. How long? I don't know the specifics. I'm sorry. Mui. Yes. I'm not going back. Hyang's answer was met with a shake of the head from Mui. It wasn't something Hyang could decide. You know you can't refuse. Even Hyang, with all her confidence, couldn't refute this time. Indeed, it wasn't just about her own whereabouts. Many things would shift based on her choice. The position of the second-in-command of the Great Guild Murim was precisely such a role. With nothing more to say, Hyang pressed her lips together, leaving Mui to bow her head. Then we will wait. Asterisk. In the middle of Jinwon's workshop, Suyuk sat with his upper body exposed. For over 2 days now, sweat poured from his body like rain. Whenever his focus wavered, he bit down on his lip, causing blood to flow from the cracks. He endured the pain, concentrating to ensure the procedure being etched into his body worked properly. Buzz. The procedure on his back by Jinwon continued. Neither eating nor sleeping for over 2 days wasn't just Suyuk's burden but Jinwon's as well. The engraving on Suyuk's back, an effort spanning those lengthy hours, amounted to a small circle barely half a palm's width. It's hot. Through the formation tattooed onto his back, Suyuk felt intense heat. Whatever materials Jinwon had used, they differed fundamentally from those in the past. Even though he couldn't see the image, he could still feel it deeply since it was etched into his body. The procedure was nearing its end. As if reading his thoughts, time to wrap up. Jinwon, who had been engraving the formation on Suyuk's back, wiped the sweat off his forehead with the back of one hand. Then, in the next moment, plop, a small dot was placed in the center of his back, marking the completion of the procedure. The body strengthening procedure has been completed. Chapter 98. The body strengthening procedure has been completed. Stamina has increased. Stamina recovery rate permanently increases by 32%. With that message, the tension eased. He felt a searing heat on his back, like being branded with hot iron. The formation etched into his back and the condensed elixirs used instead of ink invigorated his body. Though weary from the over 2-day procedure, he paradoxically felt a surge of energy. This was the result of his body being strengthened through the procedure. Status window. Name, Lee Suyuk. Affiliation, Earth. Level, 40. Strength, 52. Agility, 50. Stamina, 70 plus 2. Focus, 49. Magic, 57. Fatigue, 75. Suyuk's lips curled into a smile as he checked his stats. The increase in stamina was particularly noticeable. 70. Combined with the stats earned from the 4th floor trial, the procedure had almost added 20 points to his stamina. Additionally, 32% increase in stamina recovery. The value of the recovery rate brought about by the formation engraved like a tattoo on his back was immense. Recovering drained stamina and shortening wound healing times meant he could fight for longer periods. Moreover, this procedure wasn't even perfect yet. If this is what 200,000 points get me, I can only imagine what a 1 million point procedure would. Suyuk marveled at Jinwon's skills. You've improved even more. Do you like it? Jinwon asked knowingly from behind him. Suyuk nodded. Of course he liked it. Despite the high fatigue, he could distinctly feel the benefits of the increased stamina. He was eager to fully recover and test out his enhanced body. At this level, I might even be able to use the Lightning Lord, if only for a short while. The procedure had achieved the physical enhancement he aimed for. If Jung Yuhan came back to life, he would no longer need An Hyang's help to deal with him. Asterisk. After that, Suyuk slept for more than half a day. Eating, sleeping, then waking up to eat again. There was nothing better for recovery. Clatter. Finishing his meal in silence, Suyuk set his chopsticks down. A simple, clean meal without any meat. He rose from the table having eaten neatly. Thank you for the hospitality. Is your fatigue all gone? Yes, completely. His body felt light, as though he could fly. The increased stamina brought vigor to his frame, and the enhanced recovery rate from the procedure further amplified his vitality. He was ready. He could tackle the trial at any moment. All right, next time make sure to come back with a heftier payment. As it is now, there's nothing left over for me. Jinwon grumbled intentionally loud enough for Suyuk to hear. To Suyuk, Jinwon's words sounded like an invitation to return. Yes, I understand. 800,000 points remained to be paid. Returning with those would ensure a more thorough procedure. Asterisk. In the aftermath of streamer Lee Suyuk's departure, Jinwon stood with his hands behind his back, staring at the door. That kid left in such a hurry. He thought Suyuk might stay for another day. It seemed that rushing nature was something Suyuk had in common with the Lee Suyuk he knew. What a peculiar kid. Barely 3 days. They'd spent only a few hours actually talking. Most of their time together had been silent, focused on the procedure, leaving little time to build any sort of rapport. Yet, why did it feel like they'd grown strangely close, as if they had an unspoken understanding? Did I smile? He had smiled without realizing it, and the following question had been even more bewildering. Do you miss him a lot? What kind of question was that? He wasn't the real Lee Suyuk. So he had responded accordingly. That brat wasn't the kid he knew. He was merely a streamer impersonating that kid. But still, he couldn't shake off the words and expression on the kid's face when he asked if he missed Lee Suyuk. That makes me happy. Really now? Happy? He said he was looking for Lee Suyuk. So why was he happy about it? Mumbling to himself, Jinwon chuckled. A laugh born out of absurdity. But oddly enough, he didn't feel bad. In fact, it felt as if a long-held ache of longing had slightly eased, and a subtle warmth filled his heart. Maybe that's why, after standing for a while, watching the spot where Suyuk had departed, Jinwon finally turned back and muttered, I should start preparing. Jinwon walked back to his workshop. 800,000 points. Though not a small amount, he knew the kid would soon gather the points and return. When that time came, he would ingrain the highest quality procedure fit for the kid, just as promised. Asterisk. Donning his mask, Suyuk returned to the dormitory and, as usual, found Eun-hyang waiting for him on the first floor. He considered going straight to take the trial but remembered that she was his working partner. It was only right to explain where he had been and why he hadn't been reachable. A procedure? Eun-hyang tilted her head, clearly surprised by Suyuk's explanation. Something like that exists. Not many people know about it. That man doesn't accept just anyone as a client in the first place. And who exactly is this man? It was difficult to answer. Jinwon didn't appreciate having his whereabouts or activities widely known. Even though Eun-hyang was Suyuk's manager, it was hard to casually mention Jinwon's name after he had gone to such lengths to perform the procedure. So, Suyuk revealed Jinwon's other name instead. Mi-young-in? Mi-young-in? Eun-hyang's reaction was just as astonished. Cheon-ryang, caught off guard, blurted out a curse, then smacked her own mouth with her palm. Wow, that's crazy. Sorry. I was just really surprised. Suyuk understood the reaction. Even as a player from Earth, he was aware of how significant the name Mi-young-in was to those from Murim. A reclusive master reputed to be in the top 3 in the field of formations, and highly respected in the field of magic circles as well. Mi-young-in. That was another name Jinwon used. However, Jinwon didn't coin it himself. It was an identity constructed from his various small, humble efforts to make ends meet, gradually building up over time. To recruit Mi-young-in, 100 rankers once sought him out, only to end up trapped in his formations. A well-known legend. How did you manage to? I was lucky. Turns out Mi-young-in had some connection with Lee Suyuk. Mi-young-in had a connection with Lee Suyuk? Eun-hyang's astonished expression showed as she covered her mouth. She was an ardent fan of Suyuk. Although she now worked as manager for streamer Lee Suyuk, she had originally been a fan of Blue Eyes Lee Suyuk. Hearing new information about Lee Suyuk from his namesake's mouth, Eun-hyang's eyes sparkled. How was the procedure? Are you satisfied? It exceeded expectations, though it was quite pricey. Naturally, Suyuk shifted the topic towards the revenue. Speaking of which, how much did the video revenue come to? I need to prepare for the next procedure. I was just about to give you a rundown now that you're back. Eun-hyang extended her hand. The joyful moment of accounting ensued. Suyuk grasped her hand. Immediately, you have acquired 114,000 points. He received a much larger sum than expected. This is the first round of revenue. Another video went up yesterday, so that'll be included in the next payout in a few days. It's larger than I thought. Your video views are doing really well right now. There's a lot of chatter in the community too. This was welcome news. With many points still needed, Suyuk would have to tighten his belt and continue earning diligently for now. That's great news, isn't it? Did anything unusual happen while I was gone? This is your hometown, after all. Remembering that Unhyang and Cheonryang were from Murim, he posed the question. However, his question caused Unhyang and Cheonryang to exchange glances. An awkward silence followed. The brightness on Unhyang's face gave way to a familiar expression. There it was again, the face he had seen before. For a moment, it was as if she had lost all vitality. Her face was drained of life. For us, nothing out of the ordinary happened. The answer came from Cheonryang. By the way, are you starting right away? No rest. His blatant attempt to change the subject was obvious. Suyuk glanced between the two. Had something happened as soon as they returned to their hometown? Both seemed to be concealing something they couldn't speak about. One thing was clear. Unhyang had something related to her hometown that she didn't want to reveal. Suyuk figured that pressing further would likely yield no answers. More importantly, he thought practically. Right now, he wasn't stronger than Unhyang. Therefore, most issues that she couldn't resolve were likely beyond his capabilities too. Building his strength was essential. That was the entire reason he had sought out Jinwon for the procedure. And the task at hand was obvious. Yes, I've rested enough over there. He needed to take the trial and continue climbing the tower. Asterisk. Falcon Eye scoured various streams for his next content. Streamers and rankers, even recently highlighted viral moments. But nothing seemed to catch his eye. I had high hopes. He stared at the screen of his kit with a disinterested gaze. The video of Golden Lion Reinhardt. His recent exploits against the demons had been a significant topic on streams. However, he should be able to do at least this much. Reinhardt was a high ranker, a ranker of considerable stature, renowned enough to earn the moniker Golden Lion. His battles primarily involved overwhelming opponents with powerful magic. Strong. But there was little else to say. It wasn't a video worth reviewing as content. Meh. Making a dissatisfied noise, Falcon Eye revisited Lee Suyuk's videos. Is there really no one like Lee Suyuk? He had been holding back on reviewing his videos too frequently. But his streams always provided ample material for review. It wasn't just the uniqueness of lightning. He continually performed astonishing feats. His excellent control, relentless pursuit of difficult challenges, and the star quality of eventually succeeding in those endeavors. He had the makings of a star. The more Falcon Eye watched his streams over time, the more certain he became. Although the recent fourth floor trial had been quiet due to repetitive challenges, he was already excited about what Suyuk would show in the next trial. But for 3 days now, Lee Suyuk hadn't gone live. Meh. No content. Or rather, no player compelling enough to generate content. Reviewing just any popular player didn't satisfy him. It'd be perfect if Lee Suyuk started his stream now. It was just then. BZZZT. An alarm went off on his kit. It was as if his words had conjured it. Lee Suyuk has started streaming. Lee Suyuk's stream had just gone live. Chapter 99. Title Marathon. At the sight of Suyuk's stream title, the viewers immediately forgot about the 3-day hiatus. Marathon? So that's why he took a break, lol. He took a break to gather momentum. Let's go marathon. The sudden 3-day break. Viewers assumed that the time off was a preparation period for marathon, a marathon completion stream. They weren't entirely wrong. During that time, Suyuk had indeed received a procedure from Jinwon in preparation for the next trial. Standing before the pristine white portal that marked the start of his next challenge, Suyuk turned on his stream for the first time in a while. After a brief clearing of his throat, he began to speak awkwardly. Hello, everyone. It's been a while. Still as soulless as ever. Everything but streaming he's good at, lol. Still handsome with the mask on. The atmosphere of the stream was familiar. Despite the short hiatus, the number of viewers seemed to have increased, rather than diminished. Only 5 minutes into the stream, and the viewer count had already surpassed 10,000. Viewers 10,107. The growth in viewer numbers was remarkable. Even after taking a break, the growth seemed accelerated. There was a clear reason. The challenge, maybe. It was likely due to the recently uploaded video. The Lee Soo-yuk challenge has gained significant popularity. The video views are high, and many streamers have attempted it thanks to Falcon Eye's cash prize. The Lee Soo-yuk challenge. This challenge, born from Falcon Eye's boast that no one but Lee Soo-yuk could succeed, had gone viral, serving as a driving force for spreading the name of streamer Lee Soo-yuk further. Each time a confident streamer failed, Lee Soo-yuk's reputation soared. Others couldn't do it, but he could. Curiosity about streamer Lee Soo-yuk spread like wildfire. Eager to satisfy that curiosity, viewers began eagerly awaiting Soo-yuk's streams. Hello. Is this the Lee Soo-yuk from the challenge? Are you doing the challenge? Please show it once. Requests flooded in. Among them were even a few donations, making the situation a bit tricky. Regardless of the amount, it wasn't feasible to go find a scarecrow and leave for the trial right away. Seems like many new viewers are here today. I apologize, but there's no challenge planned for today's stream. Then what's the plan? Not sure what it'll be, but plan. Truthfully, there wasn't one. The goal of today's stream was straightforward. I promised to show you something more exciting than the challenge. To pass the trial and proceed to the next level in the best possible manner. A promise. Getting hyped. Something big coming? How far will this something big grow? The chat exploded, scrolling quickly with excitement at Soo-yuk's declaration. Despite only one statement, it ignited anticipation among the viewers for something significant in today's stream. Reflecting on their response, Soo-yuk felt renewed determination. He knew what he had to deliver to his viewers. The expectation was his constant challenge, and he committed to not letting them down. Let's see what we get. The nature of the trial was crucial for this. The fifth floor held special significance for players. Only from the fifth floor onwards, they faced trials tailored to their unique abilities. For me, it was always about lightning. For Soo-yuk, naturally, it was lightning. From the fifth floor onward, he consistently received trials related to lightning. And perhaps this time would be no different. Then, step. Soo-yuk took a step forward. 10000 points paid. The trial of the fifth floor begins. Let's begin. Asterisk. Color seeped back into the previously blank world. His foggy vision cleared, gradually revealing the surrounding landscape. Hey! What initially sounded like a distant noise grew clearer. It seemed the trial was off to a rough start. Get lost. A burly, muscular man with dark skin, brandishing a spear, glared at Soo-yuk, shouting vehemently. What was he supposed to do from the get-go? The system understood the situation for him. The trial of the fifth floor begins. Stage 1. Prove your worth as a warrior. Fight and win against the warriors of Valhalla. Stage 1. Judging by the description, this trial appeared to be a scenario-based sequence where Soo-yuk had to clear successive stages, similar to the second floor trial. Valhalla. The name rang a bell. The grave of great warriors. A realm where gods rest after death. Winning against a Valhalla warrior from the start suggested a grand scale. Who's that? Just take him down quickly. Valhalla? Sounds familiar. The battleground seemed to be just outside a cave. The warrior stood guard there. Is he guarding that place? Soo-yuk glanced at the cave behind the warrior. It looked suspicious. The fight with the warrior seemed connected to his journey into the cave. Noticing Soo-yuk's gaze towards the cave, the warrior could no longer contain himself and finally pointed his spear at Soo-yuk. It seems. Whoosh! Leaping several meters into the air, the spear's trajectory aimed straight for Soo-yuk's head. Words won't suffice then. Boom! The spear had substantial power. If it struck, it could easily split a person and even shatter rocks. Comparable to Schneider. A formidable skill level indeed, enough to instantly subdue an average fifth-floor player. But naturally, Soo-yuk wasn't included in that average. Here we go. Blue electric currents crackled around Suyuk's body, and in an instant, he dodged the descending spear. Here comes the lightning. This is what I was waiting for. Let's see that lightning. Suyuk readied himself, electricity dancing around him, signifying his intent to unleash the power of lightning. The trial had just begun, and both Suyuk and his viewers were eager to see how he'd fare against the warriors of Valhalla. Suddenly, a spear swung and fell into Suyuk's grip. The warrior's eyes widened in astonishment. As if the spear had been embedded in solid rock, it didn't budge an inch. At that moment, when a question mark popped up in his mind, wondering what had happened. Boom! An explosion of electricity erupted from the warrior's chest. The grip on the spear loosened. With the explosion, the body floated and the warrior was thrown far away. Thud, thud dash. The body, along with the armor, rolled on the floor. In front of Suyuk, who grabbed the spear and punched the warrior's solar plexus with an electrified fist, a message appeared. You have completed warrior's qualification. You have passed stage 1. You have leveled up. Strength increased by 1. Agility increased by 1. Focus increased by 1. You have gained 5,000 points. You have acquired the warrior's pendant, a level up, and an item with unknown options. Although the reward for passing one stage was a bit disappointing, it wasn't bad. After all, the difficulty of the test itself was low. Or should I say it might not be entirely easy? The first stage is a measure to evaluate the difficulty of the test. In that sense, the test to defeat the warrior in front of him couldn't be considered easy. A warrior with skills comparable to Schneider. Mediocre players would need considerable time just to defeat that warrior. Beyond this point, stagger dash. At that moment, the warrior, whom he thought had collapsed, was struggling to get up. Canned, go! Sway dash. He kept getting up and falling down repeatedly. From the system recognizing his defeat, it was clear he was already incapacitated. Yet he kept trying to stand up. His mental strength was really something. What's beyond that makes you do this? Suhyok's simple curiosity turned into a question due to the warrior's reaction. He approached the warrior who was nearly crumbling, or rather already crumbled, and asked. The warrior in front of him was the only clue and starting point of the test. There was no way he was there without reason. Enemy or perhaps an ally. Or neither. The answer was with the man. But then, just, kill me, you bastard. The man's reply was completely unexpected. What kind of sudden outburst is this? No. I just wanted to ask a simple question. The viewers were of the same mind as Suyuk. He genuinely didn't know and asked only to be told to kill right away. There was some misunderstanding. I'm not going to kill you. So? Kill me. Ugh. Should I just kill him? Oh. He probably wanted to commit elalal. It was frustrating. Looking at his eyes, his resolve was firm. It seemed he was really prepared to die. It appeared that nothing could be learned from the warrior in front of him. Might as well check it out myself. With that thought, Suyuk started to head towards the cave behind the warrior. There's no need for that. Step dash. From the dark cave, someone walked out, speaking in a beautiful voice like a crystal-clear gem. Because he is not an enemy. Seeing the woman emerging from the cave, Suyuk was momentarily speechless. Long, slender golden hair as if spun from silk. Eyes so large they seemed to have jumped out of a cartoon. Her figure was hidden by a silver armor, but even that seemed deliberately adorned to enhance her appearance. Among the women Suyuk had seen in this life, she was as beautiful as Anhyang. OMG. Nuna. Dash. Chat from a dead person. Now he understood the viewer's commotion. But he couldn't keep staring, considering Anhyang's appearance wasn't lacking either.
Valkyrie.
Hearing the fallen warrior's shocked words, Suyuk's gaze wavered. Valkyrie, a female warrior clad in silver armor. Suyuk had encountered Valkyries during a trial long ago. Noble female warriors who stood at the forefront of battles alongside the great god Odin. That was what Valkyries were. Why is a Valkyrie here? Suyuk asked, hardly believing it. Is this Valhalla? Or Asgard? See. The woman smirked at his question and asked back. Do you not know where you are? Would I ask if I knew? While I didn't think you were an enemy, this is unexpected. Taken aback by the unexpected question, she revealed her name. I'm Viola. As you've heard, I am a Valkyrie. I don't know how you know about us, but this is not Valhalla, nor is it Asgard. Then where? This is somewhere along the borders of the Conrad Kingdom. Conrad? What? The Conrad Kingdom. The name was familiar. Suyuk had taken a trial set in the Conrad Kingdom on the 3rd floor. What brings you to the human realm? I was given a mission, although I failed. Viola spoke with difficulty, suggesting it was a painful subject. A Valkyrie failing a mission. He got a feeling. This trial was related to the mission of the Valkyrie Viola, standing before him. What is it? That mission? When Suyuk asked with eyes shining, the fallen warrior revived once again.
Ve Valkyrie.
Be careful. In case. There's no in case, Vigo. He knows who I am and doesn't attack. But, besides ... Viola continued, looking into Suyuk's eyes. He possesses the power of lightning. That was why she trusted Suyuk. Chapter 100. Suyuk followed Viola into the cave. She seemed to sense that the conversation would be lengthy, so she invited him inside. The cave was better furnished than expected, with a neatly cut stone bed, a desk, chairs, and even a stash of fruit and other supplies. Torches mounted on the walls burned bright with oil. Though odd to see a Valkyrie in such a place, the cave was surprisingly livable. It's a bit shabby to host a guest, Viola said. She tended to the wounded warrior, a light emitting from her hands enveloping his body, gradually easing his painful groans.
I'm sorry.
Valkyrie, it's not your fault. I should have stopped it sooner. Listening to their conversation, Suyuk felt inexplicably guilty. He had simply retaliated against an attacker. Let's bow our heads. This time it's Suyuk's fault. Wah! The viewers naturally sided with the pretty woman. For a different reason, Suyuk also lowered his head at Viola's sad expression.
I'm sorry.
He misunderstood. As he spoke, Suyuk glanced at the warrior Vigo lying down. He's actually apologizing lol. As if he's saying he not I. Yup, Suyuk said he lol. Viola shook her head. No, it's because Vigo was too overly cautious. Such a kind heart. Nuna, just kill me. Suyuk is a demon, definitely a demon. Suyuk scratched his head in embarrassment and looked around before asking. So what is a Valkyrie doing here? A noble like you. Indeed, it was rare for someone as esteemed as a Valkyrie, a great and noble warrior serving Odin, to be in such a humble place. I could ask the same. Viola scanned Suyuk up and down and continued. Why is someone with the power of lightning here? Scanning him? Is that a signal? She's probably just curious about his shabby clothes. By the way, what's he doing with all those points? With her gaze and the barrage of chat messages, Suyuk examined his own appearance. Indeed, he hadn't had the time to properly equip himself due to busy point usage. His ability to knock out Vigo in one blow contrasted sharply with his ragged attire. It was clearly incongruous. I don't know either. You don't know? Just woke up here. Suyuk's answer was honest. He had indeed suddenly found himself here when the trial started. Asking why he was here was futile. He had no clue. Where did you gain the power of lightning? I obtained it by defeating a giant. You defeated a giant? Viola's eyes widened in surprise. The chat window went wild again at her astonished expression, but Suyuk focused on her words. It wouldn't be a giant from Muspelheim, then could it be? She glanced at Suyuk, then closed her mouth. It seemed like a difficult topic to discuss. Though he doubted she would answer, he asked anyway. What could it be? No, it's nothing. Please tell me. It might be related to me. I'm sorry. It's a promise with the gods of another world. I can't speak of it, nor is there a way I can tell you. Viola's polite refusal left Suyuk unable to ask further. The fact that there was no way for her to speak meant it was the kind of story she literally could not tell. A filtered story, huh? If that was the case, there was nothing he could do. Suyuk knew there were limits to the information he could get on this floor. Pressing further would be a waste of time. Then it's my turn to ask. I haven't heard anything. I've answered everything I can. Honestly, unless he started with "I'm a player," there wasn't anything else Suyuk could say. All right, given the situation, I do need your help right now. Seeing Viola nodding, Suyuk asked, "What is this mission?" It was a mission assigned to a Valkyrie, no trivial task for sure. And judging by the context, the mission was likely related to the trial. It's also related to you. Me? Yes. Nodding, Viola continued. We came to protect the Thunder Throne. At that moment, whoosh dash, the scenery in front of them began to change slowly. Asterisk. The scenery changed. The temperature, humidity, and smell of the air covering their bodies stayed the same. Only the view in front of them changed. Suhyok had experienced this phenomenon several times before. A cutscene? Yeah, looks like it. I can see the back of the Valkyrie. The first thing he noticed was Viola's back. She was kneeling alongside 2 other Valkyries before a man. 3 Valkyries? Viola was not alone. We came to protect it. There were 3 Valkyries in total. And the one commanding them was the man in front of them. His face was not fully visible. As if permission was not yet granted, the cutscene kept half of the man's face shrouded in darkness. Yet, even with just the silhouette, it was clear who he was. It wasn't the first time seeing that figure. It's that man from back then. The man who appeared in the cutscene after Suyuk conquered the Thunder Cave on the 3rd floor. The man who had chosen not to sit on the prepared throne now stood before the 3 Valkyries. Was he really someone who could command Valkyries? There weren't many who could control Valkyries, and the man held a hammer then as he did now. I have a rough idea of who he is. While Suyuk was internally piecing together the man's identity, surprised by the revelation.
I'm sorry.
The man bowed his head, apologizing to the Valkyries. It was because of the task he was about to assign them. There's no need for apologies. Viola spoke. Just give the order, and we will run to fulfill it, even if it means our grave. Her words were met with silent agreement from the other 2 Valkyries. Looking at the 3 Valkyries, the man slowly shook his head. I see. Thank you for saying that. With that, the man stood up, still not raising his head, as though he had made up his mind. Until I take that seat. The man looked at Viola and the other 2 Valkyries. You 3 are to guard the Heart of Thunder. Asterisk. Whoosh dash. As the cutscene ended, the scenery slowly reverted back to normal. This time, it seemed the viewers had also seen the cutscene, judging by their reactions. What, it ended? I wanted to see the other 2 Valkyries. Are all Valkyries as beautiful as the nun? Their focus was, of course, more on the Valkyries than on the mysterious man. The other 2 Valkyries who had taken on the mission with Viola were indeed significant clues for the current trial, but Suyuk had another primary focus. The Heart of Thunder? The name was familiar, naturally because Suyuk already had it. Empty Heart of Thunder. Grade? As expected, Great Discoverer has donated 100 points. Come to think of it, doesn't he already have the Heart of Thunder? What? Oh yeah, he does. Didn't he get some strange reward back then? Following the donation message, several viewers recalled the reward Suyuk had obtained. The Empty Heart of Thunder. A reward he had no clue how to use at the time, now appeared in the cutscene. And it was something that the Valkyries were supposed to guard. So it really is something important. No kidding, considering it was the reward for conquering the Thunder Cave. Yeah, just playing with marbles, huh? Lol, don't even joke about that. At this point, even the viewers couldn't help but notice. The current trial was clearly centered around the Empty Heart of Thunder, obtained from the Thunder Cave. shortly after the cutscene ended. That's why we came here. To hide and guard the Heart of Thunder. It seemed her explanation was supplemented by the cutscene. Suyuk wore a puzzled expression beneath his mask, as the cutscene and Viola's explanation left one question unanswered. From whom? To hide and guard the Heart of Thunder. That meant someone was after the Heart of Thunder. Muspelheim. She pronounced the name slowly, enunciating each syllable. From the giants who have allied with demons. Muspelheim, a world inhabited by a special species. They were neither devils, commonly known in Suyuk's world as demons, nor giants directly opposing the gods. Yet they were both not belonging to either side, and at the same time part of both. That was the nature of Muspelheim's demons. This is much larger in scale than I thought. First Valkyries, now Muspelheim. Suyuk's brow furrowed. The difficulty seemed too steep for just the 5th floor trial. Would they really throw him into a war between Muspelheim and Asgard? No, a scenario like that should be on the 8th floor at least. It makes no sense. A scenario involving gods was something Suyuk had only experienced in his prime. The information he had about Muspelheim was just from following the path of thunder. There was no way he would be thrust into a full-blown war with Muspelheim on just the 5th floor. Suyuk listened intently to Viola's further explanation. They've caught the scent. They know the Heart of Thunder entrusted by the Minor Lord is here. How many of them are there? At Suyuk's question, Viola hesitated before answering. As long as the system remains, we cannot run rampant here. Even coming down like this isn't easy. The system, an all too familiar term, left Viola's lips. Yes, the system is a constraint that prevents the gods, demons, and giants from deeply interfering in the human realm. It's literally a system to protect the human realm. So, because of that, there are 3 Valkyries, and 3 subordinates of the Valkyries. That makes 6 of us who descended directly to this place. If there were constraints on Asgard limiting them to 3 Valkyries, Muspelheim likely had similar restrictions. Roughly estimating, their forces should be balanced. Then, what happened to the Heart of Thunder? It was taken. Viola bit her lip as she spoke with difficulty. By the demons. As expected. Nodding as if he anticipated it, Suyuk asked. Then, do I need to retrieve it?
No.
The answer was unexpected. Viola shook her head. That's impossible. Pardon. Now that I think about it, I didn't properly answer your earlier question. About how many of them there are. As if even explaining it was difficult, Viola sighed deeply and changed the topic. My request is different. It seemed finding the Heart of Thunder was not the objective after all. We need to rescue my comrades. Please lend us your strength. She had already given up on the Heart of Thunder.